I recognize that Carly, Zane, I, Scott, Kudal, Tanya, Jessica are present. Do we have approval of the agenda?
So I just have a question about the general consents.
Yeah.
Does that mean those orgs are coming in?
They are not coming in.
Okay.
It's simply because due to limited funds and stuff like that, this is in the order that they the allocation request came in.
Oh, that's
yeah. It's because we cannot at the very beginning approve everything as then they would have come to line.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, that's fine. Yeah. Oh, God.
Well, Candace said she thinks that we'll hopefully consider everything tonight. Because if there is nothing in the last 18 that haven't been seen yet, it'll be in the SGA books.
I don't think that's up yet. It's not really
yeah, so she said, she said she doesn't think she would consider it forward for today.
Yeah.
And that if it's around it's going to be did you hear also? So basically, based on the numbers David has given, are only through the numbers. So there's, what'd you say, about 48K he hasn't looked into about rollover. Based on what he's told us, that they'll be back and what the budget currently is at, like maybe between 4 or 5 grand under what is coming in today. There's about 15,000 in the bus today, there's maybe about 10,000, 11,000. Candace said she thinks it should be fine if we move around. Because there's money in
Well, yes. Technically.
So it's like, can you over allocate?
Yes.
Should you over allocate?
No.
Right. But, you know, it's
because David hasn't fully given them numbers yet.
Yeah.
It's rolling back. So one way or the other, they either will get that money from rollover and then they could have funded these groups, or I'm sure there will be more from those other reports, but I don't think there's going to be a full 45K.
Yeah. What are the big ones? SA Snowmobile, SA Baja, are those counted for yet?
Probably because those were before November, right? They for sure used everything that they gave them. We did more than that.
Everything.
They got a storage space that wasn't rolling back.
Yeah.
So.
Carly, did you see 19K?
That's like
Never mind.
But, all right, guys, just give you an update. Functionally, David Royer has given us a number of 151236, I believe is the number of rollover that came from at least up to November of last year.
1512 1,500.
Yeah, $1,512.
Yeah, I wouldn't preface that as 15.
Yeah.
Oh, see, you were
1512.
saying 15.
Yeah.
No. Well, 1512.
15 is the amount of requests coming in tonight. Oh.
And based off of my calculations to the allocation number, we only have 6,000 left.
I thought you said 9.
That's what I heard Carly said.
Yeah,
9.
the 9. I heard 9.
So there's.
And that's where I made I wrote off of that assumption initially.
Yeah, it's about 9,000 based on David Royer's updated numbers and what's been allocated after that. So based on that calculation, it's about $9,050.
Is that including the 1,000 that emailed us about tonight?
ASCOM?
That does not include ASCOM. So like $9,050 plus the Asian Studies Council of Majors, which will no longer be doing their event. That's $1,325. So get me
28.
So you'd be going over 4 or 5.
I think we do something now.
Okay. Okay, so one more time, what do we know we have right now? What?
$9,050.
Scott, do you have anything? Sorry.
For the engineering clubs like Baja or Snowmobile, they keep using that money until the end of the fiscal year, and then we get it back.
Right.
So that wouldn't roll back early.
Yeah.
But, okay, so, and how much was ASCOM coming back, or that you know?
$13.25 and 80 cents. So.
And then what did I say, 12, what did Dave, what that email from David?
Your email says 15, 12, and 54 cents.
I'm not doing mental math, I'm not gonna trust that right now. So if all of those are accurate, you're looking at $11,887. And the requests for tonight are $15,500.
Including the cuts that we didn't have to make.
That includes the cuts. That includes the cuts, but also includes requests that might not be
$12.
well, it should be seasonal too.
Yeah.
And David hasn't told you about.
So that's up to November.
Yeah.
That sounds fine. It's about 1 month's worth. It's from November 13th, which that was meetings to December 11th, December 12th.
Do you know like which meetings those are and how much?
$48,000.
So those meetings, those meetings were about $48. I don't do the aid.
Also, how much is remaining in the marketing fund? Yours.
Okay, so remaining in the marketing fund currently.
You don't have a laptop.
Yeah.
Not 13.
It is 1,350.
The number just doesn't make sense to me. How did we go from 33,000 in rollover last year, or rollback last year, and we have 1,500 this time?
Max of 20K.
Because wasn't it weird last year?
Yeah, it was the, like,
Yeah, but that was only $13,000.
50% on travel.
Where did the other?
I think a lot of the travel and lodging costs, like, those get spent.
I think they just use it.
Very well.
And I guess events, like nobody really, well, it doesn't really come back from like canceled events, does it? It just comes back to like canceled expenditures. So like maybe they
Do we get the money back from? No, we don't. That was just re-expended against Fox.
And then I was going to say, like, with the other things that we had to, like, double fund basically because of, like, the
Yeah.
surveys or the.
I mean, that was only like 2 hours.
Yeah.
Fox got an extra $3K for food. Yeah.
Okay.
Like 3K, yeah, of course. But I don't know. It's just like $33,000 down to 1,500. What was going on with the accounting last year?
I think the differences are primarily the travel and lodging
Okay.
and that 20K cap.
Right.
Because that meant we spent more than we did last year on Baja, correct?
Up by like $800.
Okay. But still, that also applied to Snowmobile now.
Snowmobile, did they receive a little bit less than they acquired last year? Except it's
But it rolled back, how much did you say was in the marketing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
1,350.
1,350.
1,300.
If you use that, then it's a difference of 2,313 for tonight. That would be over
Can we
allocated.
close that, pull it up?
Hmm?
Can we pull that money?
I'm fine with that. The merchandise fund has already been allocated to its fullest extent, and I don't predict the marketing fund to be like. I mean, I haven't reached out to all the new works, but like I don't predict all of that. That was allocated.
Yeah. And also for NISB, the reallocation.
NSB,
NISB. How much do they want reallocated?
NSB wanted to reallocate $700 from registration for their conference or convention that we funded at the end of last semester. I don't know why I did it. They wanted to reallocate $700 from registration towards transportation costs. The explanation being, we would like to transfer excess registration funds to transportation in order to have a bus that will take students to and from the airport on the days we travel. and that was
That $700 was supposed to send more students to go. And also that because they've reduced the amount of people going, the money that they utilize for travel and for lodging are changed. We won't get delve into that one, but at least for the registration, I don't think we should. I think
Do
we
you
should
do
reallocate
buses
them.
under a certain mileage?
Yeah, we do, that's fine.
Do it good.
So is there original quote for how many people we're supposed to do it?
I think it was a list and it was a long list.
So
I
it was like
remember that.
30 some people,
Yeah,
wasn't
Yeah, it was like a
Yeah.
30. Yeah, it was like they budgeted for like some 30 people,
Do they have on the number?
and I think they got allocated. I think I remember looking at their request. They got allocated 14,000. I want to say for that event for the conference. Yeah, 14,600.
Yeah, I asked that you don't allow reallocation for that, and theoretically allow the money to return because that money was supposed to allow, I think what, there was like 2 or 3 that showed up for students to register for the conference. And well, obviously travel and lodging, I don't think we can call into question, but because I mean, I don't know. The money was allocated among the expectation of that many people in attendance. But I think it's too late for us to backtrack that one.
So hypothetically, if I didn't sign this reallocation form, so the money would roll back because they wouldn't be spent.
Yeah, I think moving forward, a bit more scrutiny on rollbacks, not reallocation, maybe.
Okay.
Give us a little bit more wiggle room.
Yeah.
So we'll take that extra 700 as well.
Okay.
So there's an additional 3,000.
$1,613.
Okay, there's a little bit of deficit that we have. So we deficit. And that's about it, everyone. Next week, so of course planning for. Has everyone had a chance to look through all these? So rolling through the list, VSA is just commons fees. Don't think we'll have an issue with that one.
They do have to increase a little bit because AV ticketing and recital reset have gone up a little bit.
Yeah, okay. So we'll issue those slight increases, but that was accounted for in the number, correct? Okay. VASA will reduce the amount of food issued.
No, it's exact.
It's exact? Okay, fantastic. QMBC is the good question right now. They're requesting a bit over $140, I believe.
Not quite 140.
Okay.
They're pretty close.
Pretty close. We wish to issue funds for QMBC. That's the.
I was confused with QVC.
Yeah. QMBC. Go ahead, girl.
I just, right now, the way it's looking, they need this in order, so their general body meetings are their big meetings, correct?
They make the argument that their general body meetings are to plan for the cooking meetings that they actually have. That's their argument.
Well,
Scott?
They have a general body meeting, 3-hour Fridays from 12 to 1. And then they have an event weekly where they put that knowledge into like practice by demonstrating how to cook the food.
yeah, so I mean, going off that, I don't really think we should consider like that as their body meeting because that is their like events that they're having.
Yeah.
Because they're not like it's open to everyone. I don't really know about advertising. Not a lot of advertising.
No, I mean, you do have the question that, of course, is that if they're teaching all the knowledge in the general body meeting, that's not really open to everyone, because if you go in, you wouldn't know what you're doing.
I'm sure they could cover the lesson. I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like it's more of
Seems like
an
an exception.
I mean, I feel like it's more. I mean, if that's what they're aiming for, it's more of like an event. I don't know, but it could be seen as like maintaining the operations of a club that we don't do for any other organization because. I mean, if you think about it, no other organizations like run this in that capacity.
So speaking of cooking clubs, I got an email from Tola, the president, not too long ago, saying their cabinet can't come, but it's very vague and like it's like literally a 1-sentence thing. So I'm assuming they're not coming tonight. But I'm emailing them to clarify that's what they mean.
Under general consent that they need to.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so why would they put in general consent?
I don't know, it's because we funded them, but remember that was on a stipulation that they would find outside funding, which they have not at the current moment.
He's
I was
saying
told
that
that they
he could also answer
Oh.
questions.
That their fundraiser is coming up and that they plan to be self-sustaining. So.
Yeah.
coming up this semester.
Do you,
The semester next.
Strong number this semester.
Do you know like what type of fundraiser you're gonna be doing?
I think they're doing the dinner like they said last semester, and other things that connected them with some fundraising resources, and I think they'll use that.
I think they're planning their event, but were they planning on using SGA funds to pay for it?
Oh.
That's probably the banquet that Bert was talking about.
Yeah.
Oh, do you want to explain that?
I don't know much about it besides that they're doing some sort of banquet and they're cooking the food, and they just got approval from Chartwell's to be the ones to cook it as long as they have Chartwell's staff there. But they haven't put any allocation requests in,
Nope.
correct?
Nope.
But you all don't typically fund fundraisers anyway.
I do not.
I mean, if it's directly committed.
All right, everyone. Thanks, drop off. 2 points to general good of the world.
What's the question posed?
Option A is to continue following funding of QMBC, and option B is to reduce or cease funding. All those for option A.
Can you repeat it?
Okay, all those for option A are to continue full funding of QMBC, and option B is to cut or reduce the funding for QMBC. Do I need to repeat again? All those.
I just have a question. Okay, so in like, I mean, I understand obviously like cease funding, but like in limited funding, like what, how do you distinguish between food items? Okay, that's all they're asking for.
What do you mean?
Like how would you distinguish like limited?
Percentage.
Yeah, I guess just percentage for like the whole grocery trip. Okay, I mean, yeah, that makes sense. Okay, any question?
Let's just do this drop off.
All those for option A, please raise your hands now. 1, 4. All those for option B. All right. Now the further question is, do we wish to reduce or simply cut entirely? Option A is to reduce. Option B is to cut entirely. All those for option A. 3. All those for option B. 3. All right, let's start talking, everyone.
So
Is the chair supposed to act as a tiebreaker so your vote wouldn't count?
Not in this matter. I can't vote twice to break tiebreaker.
No, like your vote wouldn't count, so it'd be 2-3.
No, not. That's for the next years.
Oh.
Yeah, not this one. Yeah.
I think, like, we funded Chew UMBC quite a few times at the end of last year and, like, at the start of this year as well. And I feel like every time we've had this, we've, like, continuously had this conversation of, like, we can't keep doing this, we can't keep doing this, this isn't sustainable, they will need to find more resources. And yes, like, that takes time, but it's been basically a year since they've been active, if I'm not mistaken, and
8 months, 8, 9 months.
yeah,
No,
that's true.
less,
It was towards the end,
Oh, yeah, no,
towards the
5,
end of late
yeah.
spring.
So like 10, 11 months.
Yeah, so it's like close to a year, and they still don't have like a sustainable way to do that. And I know they're still trying to fundraise and find partnerships, but like at this point with finance board not having a lot of money and like us having continuously said you need to be sustainable, you need to be sustainable. There's only so much we can do, and at this point, I'm for not funding this because I think we need to use what's left in the finance board pot for larger events across campus, and this is not sustainable for them as an organization, and I don't think we should put this money towards it.
Zane, Scott?
Oh, yeah, I think one important question is to, because I agree with your point, in that context, but also asking the question, like, have we, because, you know, I know, Scott, you've met with them too, and, like, been to a couple of different body meetings for events, like, have we given them enough, like, opportunity and, like, resource in terms of fundraising and talking to them? And I think to your point is what I think we, like, have, because we've talked directly to them. And I think, Scott, I don't know if you have any perspective on this and like talking to them. But yeah, I think I was like thinking about limiting, but I think like just not funding it would probably be the better route because of that, like trying to get that through that it eventually needs to become sustainable because that's kind of what we set out when we started funding that in the first place.
I don't really know the history of the funding of them, but it sounds like we've tried to help them. Though I think at this point in time, it is a very small amount of money that affects a large group of people for literally the rest of the year, I think, that they put in for. And I think at least throughout the end of this year, and I don't know how it's going to work with the budgeting system if that is approved for next year, but I think we should continue funding them.
My opinion, we need to fund more large-scale events, as Carly mentioned. Things like this. We've funded them on numerous occasions. I think at this point, they need to become more sustainable. And to be honest, it's $140, in my opinion. And yeah, I mean, we just need to fund more large-scale events from now on. That's my opinion. And just funding programs.
I think also, like, I do see all the points that were addressed with, like, sustainability and everything. I think initially I was coming from the standpoint of, since it is, I'm trying to figure out how to phrase this. I think at this point, the more things that we can fund to some extent, the more access there is to other options rather than just having large scale events. So I think that there's still value in small scale events. I think that does bring into question though, like, who is it really reaching, and if that's like the same general body members or not. But I think I'm generally in favor of like providing some substance or some funding where possible, even if it's reduced.
So are we thinking of percentage?
I was thinking percentage. I don't know what that looks like, but I don't know if anything at this point is less than arbitrary in terms of like decision making like that. But also like because even if it is like $140, then that doesn't even like cover a lot in like terms of commons fees either though. So like even if it does go towards another event, it's not contributing much to some large scale event.
I think the question is it an event or is it not? And if it is an event, are we treating this organization to a different standard than we would any other organization? Because if you're basing this off a unique history, I feel like that is kind of prejudice against the club because you guys have put in this effort to try and get them to fund themselves, but did not really follow through in helping them achieve that. And now you want to punish them by saying this is no longer an event, and we should not provide the food that we would provide to any other club.
I just want to remind you all of the conversation that, so you've all just started, you are the only ones that have funded them, just for a reminder. So
last year they were funded by us.
in the spring, because they
For
haven't,
like 2.
we haven't been around that long, so it's really mainly all of you. We had a conversation with them in the fall saying that this was not sustainable, which I'm sure is in the minutes and whatever meeting that was from. And you all said you would fund them in this fall based on the fact that they would find alternative means of funding, and that was a decision all of you in this room have made. So please keep that in mind, because they only have like what, 20 people that go to this, and I do have concerns about who is going to these meetings because it does seem like it's just for the general body members because these aren't really advertised anywhere. So
Going to the meetings, it is a pretty regular crowd of people. I'm not sure how they advertise their events, but
How much you can
they keep track with Google Calendar. You have to RSVP so they don't overbuy how much food for people who are going to their events and things like that to try and keep costs down.
Who shares the Google Calendar? What is that?
Those on the mailing list are invited.
Okay.
So it's only, sorry, it sounds like these are only open to people who are on a mailing list that
As
I'm
long as
guessing
you
said that
RSVP, you can get food, but you can attend and watch the demonstration.
you can or cannot.
You can.
If
You
you
can
don't
go, but you
RSVP.
can't eat if you don't RSVP.
Which is what your finance board dollars are going to.
Quasi open.
Particular events are open, it's kind of open.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, but typically what we fund is ticketed. I mean, it is, but like, it's not an additional cost.
It's not an additional cost, it's just so they don't overbuy food.
Oh, right, okay.
Good.
I mean, I think it's like just the mailing list then, and there's no like outside.
But I don't have that information. There might be outside marketing or stuff on my UMBC.
I mean, okay, but I mean, if you say like predominantly like the same crowd as at the general body meetings, and then at the event, it would just be.
Let's sit over here.
And you can argue about that and play.
Excuse me?
You guys have whiteboard names that sit right there.
What did you say?
What's the date?
What is it gonna happen?
Yeah,
Um,
there's two of them.
One for this week, probably one for next week.
Further.
The 8th,
For the,
they're both for they both say the 8th.
what you said there was gross.
I think so. That's what they did earlier.
Okay.
Like a month in advance. Like, I don't know if they're both like.
Guess we can come back to it.
Come back, wait, we have 4 more minutes.
I mean, we still have to see them as their
I mean, I don't know, let's just see.
Right.
Shuffle.
Yeah.
All those for option A, reduced funding. All those for option B, no funding. Okay, those are 2 options. Why did I say all 4? All those for option A, reduced funding.
Can I make a point?
Sorry, go ahead.
Can you go back? Okay. So the first one is burger, and the next one's lasagna. I believe these events might have already happened because Burger Week was the first week of the semester, and lasagna, I think, was the second.
That solves this question very
So,
easily.
Wait, those already have,
I believe so. Let me
But the
double
date
check.
on there says the
A,
8th.
which is this.
Fantastic.
I think he did
Can
that.
you see
Did
any-
you submit it in time? He submitted it.
Well, you can't, that's something that's already
Yeah,
happened.
you can't put something like that.
Lasagna week was 2/22. Burger Week was 2/15.
Do they have anything in there as far as March? Like what specific weeks are for March? Or April?
No, they released it weekly.
This is what they said.
Which that, based on what they say, that would have been out already because it's the 5th.
Are they doing it
The dates.
again? Can we go with that?
What is the date of the event?
March 8th.
8th. They might be doing it again. I don't know.
Maybe, I don't know.
I mean, I don't want to
We got
make
an
assumptions.
Very well. All those,
I
do I
can
need to repeat the choices?
No.
Option A fun, option A B not fun.
Yes.
No, I'm saying like, I'll let you tell me and I can ask him some questions.
Fantastic.
I mean,
All right, we'll push this off to the end of the meeting. That's always a good way to deal with things. So, let's go back to the agenda because we still need to approve the minutes and we still need to approve.
Move to suspend the approval of the minutes.
All right, fantastic.
Second side.
All those for suspended procedural rules regarding the approval of minutes. 6-4, 0 against. Please provide some justification, Tanya.
I was in the hospital over the weekend and couldn't edit minutes.
Fantastic.
I haven't been on a minute since I wasn't here.
One, it's just like so procedural, so I was just like, I'd rather not, because then it looks like you had qualms with it or something. All right, and we already voted. So 6-4, 0 against. We'll add those on to next week. Approval of the agenda. Probably should have done that first. All those for approving the agenda. Can I please have a second, please?
One second.
Well, are we?
I said move to June.
Second.
All right, all those for approving the agenda.
Well, so something with Hillel's coming up, because Hillel's event is next Wednesday, 13th, I believe, and they submitted an allocation request. They like barely got their things into me over the weekend, and I think they had a lot of confusion about what on their end as to like everything that they were requesting and how it's all finalized. So that's also in the Google Drive folder.
They're not scheduled.
They're not scheduled.
Like that's like the one issue I do have though, currently is just like the agenda went out and then like all the organizations already had their stuff and not so they're properly scheduled.
Right.
So because they didn't have their stuff, even though they did file first, they didn't submit all their stuff.
Yeah.
You know, we can't obviously
Yeah,
just
you
pull
mentioned
something
it.
for them.
Yeah, that's on Saturday.
With the agenda as it is, I wouldn't have proper time to review who else requests.
Yeah. So unfortunately, we'll have to move.
Okay.
You know. Okay. That move. Yeah, how a motion on the floor.
You seconded.
Scott seconded it. Fantastic. All those in favor of approving the agenda, please raise your hands now. 6-4, 0 against. Fantastic. All right, the VSA Culture Show is in the room now. VSA is only asking for standard comments fees. Generally speaking, these type of things would be under general consent, but because the agenda had already been sent out and we were like, okay, well, you guys can come in and stuff like that. We'll get to know about your event, about your organization a little bit. Yeah.
So, we have a PowerPoint again?
Oh, fantastic. Would you like to do it? Open up the incognito tab and
Would you have an introduction first?
yeah, we'll do other settings and stuff like that. So we're going to start off with a round of introductions. My name is Daniel White. I currently serve as chair of the finance board. I use he, him pronouns. I'm a voting member.
For Houston Coordinator of Student Organizations, I serve as an advisor here. She, her pronouns, I do not vote.
Solomon Tran, Stuart's treasurer, and this is
Austin Lay, I'm the president of UNCVSA.
So she gets to settle the last one.
Scott Buchanan, finance board representative, he, him, I'm a voting member.
Canal Finance Board Representative, pronouns he, him, no voting.
Hi, welcome. I'm Tanya, Vice Chair for Finance Board. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm a voting member.
Hi, I'm Jessica, Finance Board Secretary. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm not a voting member.
I'm Brenda. I'm the executive vice president. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm not a voting member.
Hi, I'm Nithya Prakash. I'm a first year ambassador.
We'll let it wait for
Okay.
Go ahead. Kylie.
I'm Carly. I'm the SGA treasurer. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm a voting member.
I'm Jocelyn. I'm culture chair of BSA.
I'm Zane. I'm the vice president of student organizations, he, him pronouns. I'm a voting member.
Just for clarification, if you're voting today, please raise your hands. So we have 6 members voting. Okay, sounds good. All right, so whenever you're all ready.
Huh? Yeah, that's fine. So we're going to be talking about UNCVSA Culture Show. So this year is our 6-year anniversary, and well, the point of this is to positively recruit our members. It's a opportunity for them to come out, learn about Vietnamese culture through dance. So we have our traditional dance and modern dance, which is choreographed by students here at UBC, as well as fashion and modern fashion shows, and lastly, a skit that relates to Vietnamese culture. So we have currently about like 40-ish VSA members that are part of this event so far, and
Right. So culture show and effect on the community. So the culture show promotes tolerance, acceptance, and diversity, and highlights our similarities to promote unity and strength and diversity. So it also reaches out to family members. A lot of family members from the students all come out to support, to see their family and friends participate in the culture show. So it helps bring the community together, bring all people from everywhere together for the culture show. And it provides a member experience not only for the audience, but also for the cast, as well as people that do the traditional dance, modern dance, and just acting. They provide, it gives them a lot of experience just to bond and meet people that they normally wouldn't meet it just with classes and everything.
so I'm on the top of the numbers. Last year, we have a box that goes around where we raise money for our CPP. That's our collective philanthropy project. Last year, we raised nearly approximately $500. 80% of the students are from other cultural organizations such as KSA, CSA, VASA. As well, 15% of the audience is UMBC's alumni and family members, and then 5% is about like students from other university or other schools that have Vietnamese Student Association. So like GMU, CP, JMU, Virginia Tech.
So our CDP project this year is for the children in Vietnam. So it breaks the cycle of poverty, provides help to children and those that need it. Gives children opportunities to attend school and just betterment just for overall for those in need, the nurtures.
So our cost breakdown, basically, we only set up AV, security, housekeeping, and marketing. As for props and decorations, we will be fundraising that and paying for those ourselves. We found a sponsor for Culture Show, so we do not need funding for that as well. They'll be making our aoyais, which is our like, traditional dresses, and we hope to continue funding so that we can like provide for these props and materials.
Yeah, we at least try to put effort at least to fundraise our own, because we know the SGA has limited funds and we have to subsidize. So we did keep trying.
Appreciate it.
That's it.
Get along, have a seat. I think we just have a couple of questions. They answer most of the generalized ones. The big two, of course, the donations, and not just the biggest one, actually. Yeah. So our question for you is actually, so you had mentioned that there was a collection of donations. How was that collected?
So I believe last year, at the end of the show, they were collected through cards.
So we put red envelopes on the tables for each person to put in their donation. It's like a typical like Asian custom. Afterwards, we would collect them during intermission. However, since we're doing it in the ball or recital hall this year, we're most likely going to design a box that gets passed around for us to collect money.
All right. Are there additional questions for the organization?
I think you might need a cash box, so double check as far as collecting donations.
Okay.
Just so you're going about it the correct way.
Okay.
I told Melissa, or I told one of our vice presidents to have our cash on
Okay.
Oh, what's the estimated
Last year we had approximately 200. I believe that the recital hall holds 300 though, so I don't have an exact number, but within that range.
Okay. All right. Additional questions for the organization? If not, we're going to move into a period of discussion. During discussion, conversation is with the Defiance Board members only. However, after discussion ends and before we vote, we'll open it back up to you if you have any comments, questions, or concerns. So, my only one thing that I think we do need to tell the organization is that my one concern right now, okay, so like donations, previously the Defiance Board had, when organizations came and asked about donations, they simply had to pass it at the door. Based on the description of it being passed around, does that, I don't know, is that coercive in nature is the question for me. Is it's like, okay, is there an expectation of donation? It's like, that's what I think we have to consider. And if there is, I mean, yeah.
If there's a cash box, that can't be physically passed either. That's supposed to stay with an officer
Right.
organization, correct? So if it is through a cash box, then it would just mean having to have someone stay at the door or something to be able to stay with that to collect those.
Okay. Scott?
Matthew, can you bring up the spreadsheet?
Open the final, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, one's on the right.
Yep, the ones on the
Yeah, the
right.
ones on the right are the
And
new
at the very
totals.
top, we have the roll call. 2004 is
Just so you know, we meet with Brett before these meetings, and the ECS numbers didn't quite match up with what you all had. They have increased in 3 areas, so that's what that reflects.
Okay.
So AV went up, ticketing staff went up, and there's a recital rental fee that wasn't on there, so that's what that's reflecting.
Right. So, I mean, we can just, would you like to open it back to the organization? I mean, what we do need to establish that is that if can ask the organization simply do not follow that one process, and other than that, I don't want to mention what you think.
Yeah, I mean, I think as long as there's like an announcement it's clear that donations are like voluntary. I'm not sure if passing around something is coercive in nature. I think it's just a way of collecting the donations. I mean, that's personally how I see it, because I don't. Yeah, just depending on if you want to donate to the cause or not.
I mean, it's just like raise like the expectation of donation, like okay, at the door. I don't know.
But I think
it is a different.
I think the door is like I feel like the door is worse.
Yeah,
because they're like right there. So.
Not to throw a wrench into anything, but the email that was sent out on December 20th said not prioritizing philanthropic charity and fundraising events. Is this classified as such?
So for that one, I was under the impression that was not the main purpose of the event.
Okay.
Like it was a culture show, is there? At least from the presentation.
I agree. I just wanted to make sure that we were all on the same page with that.
Yeah, but of course, when this does come in as a secondary part of the request, we do need to ensure that certain things are being followed. Otherwise, I don't. So, like, what is the advice you'd like to provide to the organization? That's the question. Or
I want to ask you first. Just like,
well, yeah. Right. What's the question you'd like to ask?
Say to that. You had one time first.
Oh, well, say it. I was insisting on you.
I mean, I guess my question is, we're just going to make like an announcement beforehand.
So typically, how this works is, in the beginning, we have the Malta president, which is the parent organization, come in and talk about what CPB is. And that's how we start off the culture show. And that's when we announce that if there is voluntarily, like if they want to donate, then that's how the boss would be passed around.
Okay.
Although, if that is an issue, I guess we can do it during intermissions where we have someone seated in the back during intermissions, and then we could announce that towards the end, like before intermission starts.
Okay. Thank you for working with us on this one. So back to the finance board discussion. Is passing a cash box around?
I think that's fine. I don't think
I
that's
think
it's fine.
I think you're crossing the lines of integrity.
Yeah, I feel like that's fine.
But it is a cash box cake.
I thought they were
I
gonna
think
pass the
I
box.
don't think that's an answer that we all know. I think that's just a conversation to have with Brett. But I think they know that they need that.
I was under the impression that they would be in a box and they need a cash box that they have to
Oh.
carry back to the CDC. They're not physically passing
Okay,
on the
got
cash
it.
box. Was my understanding of it.
Got it.
Why would you pass one?
So we reached consensus. You're good to go. All right then. Can you bring up the legislation tracker for me?
Oh, I just want to make a comment. For PSA, I think it's great that you guys have been fundraising for this. Something we really encourage. It's great you took the initiative to do that. And also, I think from your past events to like your market night that you had, it's very great as well. So, thank you for your great planning as well. And all sorts of fundraising efforts are really appreciated, especially during this time. So, we appreciate that. So thank you.
Thank you. All right, so we're going to end discussion now. Are there any questions, comments, concerns for us before we move to vote? That you all have. Yeah.
Oh no, I just wanted to make a comment regarding the cash box. Or no, I already made my statement.
Oh, okay, fantastic. All right. Legislation number is 92-1819. Is there a motion on the floor?
Move to approve FPL 92-18.
All those for approving FPL 92-1819, please raise your hands now. 6-4, 0 against, 0 abstaining. Thank you very much for coming to the Budget Board. Thank you. All right. Can you open up the agenda for me?
You want me to ask the next question? And then ask
Harley,
Question about I never asked. I first time was like,
I didn't get it.
I don't drink it.
So, like, is to espresso.
I mean, but I've been.
Okay.
There.
I like
I mean,
coffee.
they're all ECS regardless.
Yeah.
It's also like really like serious. It's how I told this career.
Scott, what's up?
Yesterday, Summit discussed the new proposed budget. I think we were supposed to be yesterday too.
No, we didn't ask it yet. Yeah. What? Okay.
Just so you all know, the rest of them are pretty much all yes.
Yeah.
Except for Shield and Gators. No, the Polly's also. A couple have food in there. But really all
When's the last game you
Last game I played was
Right, shall we continue the discussion? Also, this, you sent an email to Paula?
These top meetings were live. The only other room they have is for the whole April. They had one in February, so I feel like
That's not for us. Oh, grapple. I grapple.
Yeah, because this with the conversation, assuming they're all going to go
Pathfinder. And then Lifeliner.
just based on the shared information of the conversation or discussion.
Oh, I think we'll find a story. Please take a seat anywhere and get the
I can voice it.
I'll just email you. So that cancel the, we'll have to be like partly voted.
I think so.
Okay.
Okay. Give a little bit of time to listen. Thank you very much for coming in. Are you ready to go? Okay, so we're going to start off with a round of introductions first. My name is Daniel White. I currently serve as the chair of the finance board. I use he pronouns and I am a voting member.
I'm Tori Beasley. I'm the coordinator for student organizations at UMBC. I just serve as an advisor here. I do not vote. She performs. And you can introduce yourself as well.
My name is Diane Rochelle. You're the Filipino American Student Association.
And my name is Eva Almas, and I'm the president of the Filipino American Student Association, and I'm also one of the co-directors for the summit. And I also use she, her, hers.
Scott Buchanan, Finance Board Representative, he, him, I'm a voting member.
Kanawha Finance Board Representative, pronouns he, him, and I'm voting member.
Hi, welcome to Finance Board. I'm Tanya. I'm serving as vice chair. I use she, her, hers pronouns, and I'm a voting member.
Hi, I'm Jessica John. I'm Finance Board Secretary. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm not a voting member.
Hi, I'm Linda. I'm the executive vice president. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm not a voting member.
I'm Carly, SGA treasurer. I use she, her pronouns, and I am a voting member.
Hi, I'm Nivea. I'm a first year ambassador. I use she, her pronouns.
Hi, I'm Zane. I'm the vice president for student organizations, he, him pronouns, and I'm a voting member.
That should be everyone. So just for clarification, will all members who will be voting tonight raise your hands? So you see these 6 hands? We will be voting on your request today. So Scott, do you have the same list of questions? Thank you. Scott has a list of questions that we generally advise for us to ask to give us a general idea.
Can you start out by telling us about your organization?
Our organization, not the event. Okay, so we are the Filipino American Student Association, and we are obviously a cultural org. But although like a majority of our members are Filipino, we also have like a couple of people who are like from other backgrounds, ethnic backgrounds. We go off of 4 pillars, which is education, integration, service, and family. And throughout the year, we plan our events and stuff around that. So for service, currently we're volunteering monthly at a soup kitchen, and with that. Education, we like, Kasahan is like our main thing for that. We like to educate people on our culture, both our own members and other people. And also during GBMs, we also like to incorporate like learning material, like about Filipino culture. What am I missing? Integration, we frequently like to collaborate with other orgs. Off the top of my head that I could think of that we collaborated recently is CSA, VSA, NAMI, among some others. And we're working on collaboration with OCSS right now. And then family, kind of self-explanatory, but like we like our members and like to feel like we're joining a second family when we join Boston.
Can you please tell us about the event and provide a timeline of what will be happening?
So Pistahan is our annual culture show in which we showcase an original play written by 2 directors, and also there's a series of cultural dances, commercials that are made by our members, and they're like fun little 2-minute, 3-minute videos type of things. And during our intermission, we invite other orgs to come and perform. So in the past, we've had Public come, Ada, MD, 1 or 2 videos, and now then there is.
Sorry, 1 second.
So typically, the show is divided into 2 parts, Act 1 and Act 2, and while the play is going on, in between each, like, a couple of scenes, or each scene, there's going to be a cultural dance that we prepare, or a commercial that we prepare. And during the event also, that is offered is food, which is served during intermission time.
How did you come to the number of attendants for your event?
How did we come up with the number of attendants?
Yeah, 350 undergrads.
Yes. So typically we either close to sell out Pistahan or sell out Pistahan. So last year we actually sold out our show. So that's typically around the number that we expect to come.
How are you advertising your event?
Both through, after we get like common vision stuff, it's like the people see the banner. Also we do word of mouth, and we advertise, and we send out like our graphics to like other organizations to spread the word. So typically the ones that you have the closest ties with, like such as CSA, and advertise to them. And then we also, we send out emails, and also the posters around the comments that people typically see.
Have you made a My MPC event as well?
Yeah, we have a lot. That's also one of our ways to
There you
go. What are you guys doing to minimize costs, and what costs are you guys taking on for this event?
So since the pricing for food is on now to $6.25 a head, like we're taking a lot of that out of our carryover accounts. And as for other costs, we're trying to like such as decorations and costumes, we're currently like seeing where we could compromise and like come up with fundraising ways to ease the cost on this. So like the food run fundraisers, probably 1 or 2 fundraisers could easily help offset costs for like decorations for us and stuff like that.
See, thank you very much. Other additional questions?
So just to clarify, you were not asking for any of the decorations, correct?
No.
Okay, so this is the correct allocation that you're asking for? Because initially there was one that had decorations on it, and this is the most updated. Okay. Right, that's fine.
Okay.
Sorry, when we mean decoration, we just mean like table decoration. Okay, we're hoping to some help with our costs. Is that?
So this was the most recent one that was
Okay.
turned in, and there's nothing on it for that.
Okay.
It was discussed.
Yeah, I meant to send you an email sooner because I
replied.
Yeah, I saw your reply. I think there's confusion about like if it's not on the event planning form, then it can't be on the budget, and those don't have to mirror each other. Like the event planning form, like those costs can be on the budget, but you can add other things onto the budget. Because this is the official form that we work off of like this is exactly what you're requesting, so everything has to be on here. So I think there was a misunderstanding with that. Yeah, and I meant to reply to you, and then I was like, oh, they're already here. What's up? So
Yeah. So, well, in regards to costuming as well, one of the things that the Finance Board has been following, there's this thing called the Equipment Committee, which essentially determines what the Finance Board can consider. Things that the official guiding rule for that is that items that cannot be exhausted after one use are not allowed to be considered by the Finance Board. Currently, we are working with SADSC to understand how exactly this got put in place, because it was here before any of us. This year, though, the Finance Board noticed that this is an actual one that we should be following due to our interpretation of that one line at the current moment. So things like costumes and props have increased scrutiny, and generally this semester, at least the finance board has not funded these type of items. So we'll probably be operating off of this budget. Okay.
Because their coaching costumes as a single use.
So it's because like when you get your costumes, obviously, and then they're not destroyed by the end of the night. So it's like theoretically these things save the, at least our interpretation of it is not the safest to understand where these things go. It's just like, well, the dress is purchased by state money. So at the end of the night, we need to know where the dress is going, where it's being stored, etc., those kinds of things. And because the SGA can't provide you the space or the system to actually do those types of things with the current payment, yeah, we are unable to consider them. Of course, we are working with SAPAC right now to actually understand the meaning behind that one line, but through our current interpretation, that's how we're going with it. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Are there additional questions for the organization? I think this is very thorough. They hit the list of major points, to be honest. So we're going to enter into a period of discussion. During discussion, conversation with the finance board. At the end of the discussion, we'll open it right back up to you if you have any comments, questions, or concerns. Right. So these are, I can start it off. These were all, most of these fees are standard common fees. Food is in compliance with our current 6.5 number. I see no issue to continue so forward. Anything else? Can I get a couple nods? Fantastic. No, Scott. Great. Not again. Question?
I guess. Well, I guess it's for us. Well, maybe, I don't know. Because I was talking to like Carly about it because it kind of paints this.
Yes.
But like setup fees in general, like what's the process if it like increases after we approve? So, like, is it not supposed to?
Well, that's the setup fees.
Okay.
So the hope is that by this point, this is something that has to kind of like more solidified this year for a year. After the SAFE meeting, those numbers should be the numbers they're supposed to be.
Yeah.
So that's why groups aren't coming into you all until they have their SAFE meeting, because that's when we're finalizing the numbers.
Yeah.
Because I know there's just been like, I know me and Carly talked about it, and I think Colin just said, yeah, that some groups like have had to pay out, so maybe that's like a conversation just in general.
So that's either they change things after they come with us, or depending on how their event goes, some groups have costs based on if they're like a mess, if they break things that come out of ACS. So those fees get tacked on. So like if they need to keep housekeeping longer because it's a big mess to clean up, that has to come out of their pocket because that wasn't something that they
Also, last semester we had around SAFE meetings. So
yes.
That we can take it in.
So it's not the norm to
it's not
people or
yes, it should not be the norm at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in case, unless something happens at those events where like
something
additional cleaning needs to happen. That's
but nothing. But like once we see this request, it should be like the
They
final
should
price.
set.
Okay.
Unless there are external signatures. Fantastic. Okay. Thank you for the nods, everyone. We're going to open it back to the organization now. If you have any comments, questions, or concerns for us? All right. Seeing that, can you open up that legislation packet for me? Yeah. Thank you. And that will be 93-18-19. Is there a motion on the floor?
What's the total? Sorry.
5,870. 47.
5,847.60.
Okay. Is there a motion on the floor?
Yeah, move to approve.
94. 93.
FPL 93.
All those who are approving FPL 93-18-19, please raise your hands now. 6-4, 0 against, 0 abstaining. Thank you very much for coming to the finance board. All right. Next order will be Chu FBC. Or are we shifting this one to the very end?
I'm okay to vote on it now. I'm still sitting there.
Okay. We'll get a straw poll once you get back.
Today or email you that?
No, I would
haven't sent you
Have a good night.
Big ring.
Oh, what?
You had to send an email after. How are you doing?
Yeah.
Morgan Rose. I couldn't get
374.
Yeah.
Good job. Hey, Morgan Rose class. That's a feat in itself.
I think it's everybody might know hockey.
Yeah.
You have more hockey downstairs.
I appreciate it.
It came from my actually got the shot.
No, we'll go fast.
I took it anyway.
What'd you say?
You just took it anyway.
I know.
I'm gonna take my fruit.
You know, fruit snacks?
That's my favorite.
I'm sorry. When are you quiet? Where do you get these? Where do you get these? Walmart? Anywhere?
Like any grocery store.
Costco?
Yeah.
You get them for bulk?
I'm gonna get that off.
Yeah, my school used to have like so many different flavors.
There's chocolate? You said strawberries, right?
Strawberries. We would also always have chocolate strawberry. I think that's like a good Costco any location. It's like usually the top one strawberry.
I'm gonna do this for the summer.
I'd never
Cream bread.
I feel like it's just like a good standard, you know, like when you just like need that comfort thing.
I eat like 4 at a time. When I was like younger. Amazon. That's slightly expensive.
I think that's for, yeah, that's 12 packs. Oh, hold up, what is this? What is this chocolate banana?
Yeah, you can just dry erase and just write your names on it.
Well, it must be good together. I mean,
When it's chocolate, it's like chocolate cookie with the banana.
where I split.
And I want to buy them. The last two would be allowed for both my favorites.
You didn't have to sign.
Okay, so this is going to be like
Oh, like this?
No.
So it's really great.
Like, yeah, straight on. You were drinking it. Like,
Why are we?
he's like tilting his head.
Drinking?
No, I'm not drinking. I'm just curious. Like,
I drink my water bottle.
you drink the
whole bottle?
He's like, yeah, he's like doing something awkward. Like,
I need to make sure it's there for the air.
just why do you
Like,
Why?
Why do you think I do that?
Jessica loves me. Jessica, I love her. I'm just really terrified.
We're not.
All right. Hi, everyone. I'll back to the order at the current moment. So, we'll take a straw poll in regards to UMBC. Option A is for reduced funding. Option B is for no funding. Is that clear? Okay. All right. All those for option A, please raise your hands now. 1, 4. All those for option B, please raise your hands now. 5. All right. 2. So we'll send it. We'll also get clarification.
Yeah. So what was? Can you repeat the results of the straw poll that just passed?
It was 1 for reduced funding of UMBC and 5 for no funding of UMBC. Okay. All right. So the next organization we have coming in is the Poly Student Association. Are you all ready? All right. Fantastic. So we're going to start off first with a small round of introductions. My name is Daniel Wang. I serve currently as the chair of Finance Board. We use he pronouns, and I'm a voting member. Go this way.
I zoned out for a second, sorry. I'm Tori Beasley. I'm a coordinator for student organizations. I serve as an advisor here. She, her pronouns. I do not vote.
And introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Anisha Mo, and I work as a planner for the Student Association here at UBC.
My name is Jyotsna. I'm the vice president for the Poly Student Association.
Hi, I'm Rashmi Sabazachari, and I'm president.
Scott Buchanan, Finance Board Representative. He, him. I'm a voting member.
Kunal, Finance Board Representative, pronouns he, him, and I'm a voting.
I'm on the Finance Board. I'm Tanya. I'm serving as the vice chair for Finance Board. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'm a voting member.
Hi, I'm Jessica John. I'm Finance Board Secretary. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm not a voting member.
I am Brenda. I'm the executive vice president. I use she, her pronouns, and I am not a voting member. Hi, I'm Nithya Prakash. I'm a first-year ambassador and in she, her pronouns.
Hi, I'm Kelly Sosha. I'm the SGA treasurer and she, her pronouns, and I'm a voting member.
Hi, I'm Zayn. I'm the vice president for student organizations, he, him pronouns, and I'm a voting member.
All right, fantastic. So, just for clarification, all voting members, please raise your hands now. So these 6 people will be voting on your request today. So we have a standing list of questions. Scott, would you ask them first? Thank you. These questions are generally things that we ask all organizations regarding their event requests.
Can you please tell us a little bit about your organization?
Well, NSA was first founded, I believe, in the spring of 2015. That was when the earthquake, we had the 7.5 magnitude earthquake in Nepal. And it was created by Nepali students at UMBC to raise awareness about the earthquake. It wasn't really much about recruiting other Nepali people. And then after that, in, I believe, spring of 2018, that was when the whole Nepali community actually came together at UMBC and we started recruiting more members. And now we're here and we have approximately 50 members.
Can you please tell us about the event and provide a timeline of what will be happening there?
Yeah, so the event is, it's our first event here at UMBC. We've never had one before. And it's to showcase the Nepali culture to the UMBC community. And so the timeline, do I have to be very specific or is it just
provide like an outline of what's happening?
Oh, okay. So first we have introduction, so the president gives a speech, and then we have performances. We have a social hour where everyone gets to interact with each other, and we have several booths that display posters and all that, and then we have more performances, and then at the end, thank you speech and the event.
How did you come to the number of attendance for your event?
By number of attendance, do you mean like the attendance for the event, or like?
Yeah, like how many undergraduates are coming?
Oh, okay. So we have 100. We've on the documents we've said 100 because we haven't done this before, so we're not expecting many people to show up. So and it's in the sports zone, so it's like a small event. Yeah.
How are you advertising this?
We're using Common Vision. We're posting on Facebook and my UMBC events.
You like my what cost is the organization taking on, and what are you doing to minimize costs?
The organization is to rent the costumes. The organization is taking the costumes out, and also we are investing ourselves on decorations and props. And what is the next question?
Minimizing costs.
So initially we had like $1,000 for food, but then we talked with the vendors and we reduced the cost to like $8.99 per plate. So it's like now today $8.99.
We are also using like our personal connection, social connection, and social media to like advertise rather than like taking all the posters and everything for the Common Reason. We have only ordered limited amount of posters and stuff for the Common Reason, and we are working on advertising ourselves.
All right. Are there additional questions for the organization? Nithya, could you go to their folder please for me? Thank you very much. And open up that document. Scroll down a little bit more. Okay, so 50 and 80. Okay, thank you. The other folks.
The Rick's document says 50 UMBC students, 50-50, and then this is 80-20.
Yeah, because I was looking at the food calculation too.
Yeah, forgot. Or no,
If it was already, it's $500.
yeah. All right. So, because the finance board does have a bit of limited funding right now, we are operating off of a $625 per head for UMBC students in attendance. For food, yes. So one of the things that we do see is that there's a slight discrepancy between what your organization initially submitted for attendance, which was 100 students overall, and 80 students from UMBC. Through the events coordinator, who's Britt Spears, she had provided us a number of 50 UMBC students with a total attendance of 50. Could you, is this like what you?
It's a total 100, it's 50.
Oh, okay.
So it's still 100 total, hers just says 50
Okay.
from
50
UMBC.
from UMBC, 50 off campus. Is that accurate? Okay. So furthermore, there's an explanation between how the finance board issues funds for food. Because UMBC students pay for the money that we distribute to student organizations, we do not issue funds for people who do not attend UMBC. As a result, we'll only issue funds for 50 UMBC students in attendance. Are there additional questions for the organization? Doctor?
It may have been in here, it may just not have seen it. Is there a charge for outside attendance?
No, it's a ticket event, but it's free.
Anything else? If not, we're going to enter into a period of discussion. During discussion, conversation is limited to finance board members only. However, after discussion ends, we'll open it back to you if you have any questions, comments, or concerns. All right. Let us begin discussion, everyone.
I think that's really great. They're taking like initiative on like the props and decorations and everything. I think the standard fees are something that we would fund extensively.
Yep.
I think the only point that we would have any discussion over is the food price difference.
Yeah. I mean, I think the board would maintain its standard over all student organizations at 6.25, which is the meal equivalent of a swing. Additional discussion points, everyone. Scott.
Thank you. Can you scroll down a little bit? All right, thank you.
What's the difference that we're looking at for food then based on attendance?
So
It's 312.
Yeah.
312.5.
Compared to like 500, which we use for like what they with homeless form is like 80.
Yeah, they say.
But
One of the forms says 80, one of them, the one that break games is 50 this week.
Which one are we operating on?
Brits.
I would operate off of Brits because ECS goes over through all this and they provide us student organizations in theory put down any number that they'd like on ECS, of course brings that in line of previous experiences and stuff. So we have a lead flow of 11.
$1,142.56.
Okay. So anything else, anyone, before we open it back to the organization?
I mean, so I just want to say, like, in direction, like, I think that for them, charging an outside admission might help to cover, like, your food cost and whatnot that will be able to be covered by finance board.
Be careful offering that as an option because I don't know if that it's an issue that's coming up with an ECS right now as far as tickets covering the cost for this current event.
Wasn't aware. My apologies.
Yeah. So then we'll end discussion and open it back to you all. Do you have any questions or comments for us? Thank you. Okay. All right, could you open up the legislation package for me? Lydia? Thank you. That is 94, 95, 18, 18.
Yeah, hold on. You said this was like your first event.
Yeah, congrats. Thank you.
Is there a motion on the floor?
Move to approve FBL 95, 18, 19.
All those for approving FBL 95, 18, 19, please raise your hands now. 6-4, 0 against, 0 abstaining. Thank you very much for coming to the finance board.
Thank you.
Have a good night. Thank you very much.
And then Carly will talk with you outside just to follow up with everything on what's being.
I would just put FGL. Yeah, no, I mean, jump.
Because it's just like,
Oh, that's right. Wait, so how do you organize it? Do you do it by date? Just what was party size?
Kidding, Jessica, I'm sorry. Nothing, I didn't say anything. If you care to say what I said.
I'm literally in the middle of this.
Scott doesn't know. Scott's doing this right now.
You're supposed to have my dad.
Sorry.
Oh no!
It's Rosie on the now.
You got it.
Yeah, I think this is.
That's like
This
the
comes out in.
Did you roast Jessica?
I feel like it was just for everyone under the assumption that they were
Friday,
people
Friday.
differently
Oh.
as far as tickets.
You fried.
Yes, Jessica. My favorite egg.
Favorite egg.
But I don't, like, is that a job conversation?
What?
I think my mom and I was when I like can't fish stuff.
I don't because I don't think it's a matter of like from my interpretation that was I could be incorrect.
My mom calls me ugly when I
It wasn't a no, you can't
I love you,
ticket,
Mom.
no, you can't ticket for an event that you have to have.
Did she watch something?
No, she's not.
So like you don't have to rely on tickets because if they don't sell, then you're still out that hard.
They just sold for the first 2 weeks. And just
I don't know how long. Yeah, I don't think Britt knows either. Because based on Britt and I had my conversation with her that.
Who would like to take it to Jen Dress?
So it's just the lunch.
I think I put Jen out for conference.
Your what box? Award box?
It's just me and Hallie.
Anybody in there?
And I was
Chick-fil-A sauce for emergencies. I didn't even know I had
Oh,
hot
man's
sauce.
got honey
that one. That signs
Got some hot sauce.
Why?
Granola bars.
It was two different conflicts. So Corey and I were at one, and now Corey.
I'm just carrying on.
It's not fun.
Honey mustard.
I roll with these, man.
No, what?
No, be prepared, Jessica.
I love honey mustard.
He rolls with it, like carries it.
Look, that is from Chick-fil-A, therefore it is a form of Chick-fil-A
No,
sauce, even though it's not
it was
vegan
me and my
sauce,
horse.
therefore approved.
You like Chick-fil-A?
Excuse me, Connie.
So.
Oh, okay. Okay.
You go to UBC now.
You go to UBC? I didn't know.
I'm also from Maryland, Jessica.
Based on what Bert said, David had.
I like your scarf.
So.
So Mary.
So like how does it? I don't
Hey, yo, you
know.
got some over it?
Hey!
What is Obey?
Oh God, from what David said, it was like a very mixed, like it was still negative in their account. Like, yeah, like $40-some. She said.
Coming from my life.
I didn't.
You do exactly.
You want my last spot?
No.
Oh.
No, I just how do you have dinner consent for David?
That was the last option.
Yeah, I'm always Scott.
I think you missed the part where I was.
No, Scott. Reps stick together.
What are you trying to say?
You're like.
What was I elected as?
Oh, right. Okay, but no.
So where is this?
It's not an issue.
Where's what?
That was me at 12. That was me at
That's Brett asking you questions.
Oh, so that's the question.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like that's.
Totally okay.
That's what we think.
I don't like developing games. Like if there was a job to like play games, they are. No, it's not like that's
Called
like.
testing.
Yeah,
This is the we saw as a result. But it's
There's
not
also
like
psychological studies.
because
Yeah, like-
in the Commonwealth, I just read it. There is an actual thing that says
Oh, yeah,
you're not supposed to place economic burden.
You can also just
on
be a research participant,
student oriented.
like psychological.
There's not,
Yeah, you watch. You think that's weird? How's that weird?
Yeah, like we don't encourage that.
Oh, physically paying.
To watch. We're like $50 to watch you play video games.
I think
You watch
there
your
needs to be a
video game.
general
Everybody
clarification, like
should be
someone
on
say like, okay, what are they actually
I couldn't pay for it, but like,
regarding this because
there's
none of us
a
are
very,
clear.
very select handful of people I could.
You won't watch me play Smash.
Fortnite. Oh, were you in the building?
Oh, wait, hold on now.
Oh, is this the running game?
Wait, what?
It's like coloring. It's not really, it's just like painting for the next Mario Kart. Not even
You play Mario Kart?
Yeah, second place.
Second place?
Against my 5-year-old nephew.
Okay.
He needs to, you know, when he's
Yeah, you should know. You need to understand the
She's like, I'm playing in the
No, failure.
Yeah,
failure.
Oh, that was hard.
That's failure. Wait, you got to. Oh, wait, so he beat you. Like, you're allowed to keep going for you got.
You're such a smart kid.
I am smart. I
Why does? All right.
So, average like so far.
No, I called you smart.
Oh, no, I'm not. We're dumb.
We're both dumb.
Yeah, we're both dumb.
Can we not the definition?
No.
We're both dumb.
Yeah.
We're not on this.
I'm not scared of the less than positive vibes right now.
No. So I got an exam. 474. It's the next version of your
3-7.
Yeah, exactly. Except for that level up.
Just 100.
Yeah, except Browson's a fantastic professor.
Oh, does that trigger me? No. Actually?
Well, Morgan, 100% or not 100%? Hey, Morgan Rose. Was that with the curve or because?
I don't even know if there was a curve.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But wait, Candace isn't here.
Yeah, but Carly and I can do it with a magical thing.
Okay.
It is, but like, guess what match like?
Oh.
Okay,
let us continue with the committee part.
Carly,
That's not equipment.
No, they're saying it's equipment though.
Who's saying it's equipment?
This allocation request for is equipment.
Oh.
Wow, let us convene the equipment committee.
I like your
Like, I feel like equipment has to be a tangible, physical, like metallic.
Metallic?
Maybe not metallic, but like it's an electronic using device that needs
Down
to
to
be
the magic
considered as equipment. Like equipment is a device.
Props are not equipment.
Yeah, but you need to clarify that. But
Costumes are not equipment.
So yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. This is so goddamn ambiguous. Like I don't know.
Live stream.
Yeah, we're working on it though. We're working on it.
That's what I'm saying. So like,
Okay, let's focus back on the matter.
Right, very well, everyone. Game Developers Club wants to buy a Google domain.
Oh yeah, they had this last year.
Indeed. So I'm running into the question of, are we allowed to purchase a website utilizing state funds?
Did we do that last
This
year?
year? Yeah.
We did, but that's the question of should we be doing it again? We did.
I think we did.
probably.
There was a reasoning behind that.
It's
but
because they believe that the UMBC process was too slow or something, or didn't the websites provided weren't as good.
Well, because I think what they put on those websites are like samples of the games they develop. So like my UMBC or whatever university has is not very sustainable and compatible with that.
Right.
Just remember you don't have control over what they put on it then.
Yeah.
And it's paid for by state money if someone were to like post something inappropriate.
Yeah.
So
But it's about liability.
Is this?
It could be.
I don't know. Candace tried to ask and she never got an answer.
Yeah.
So it's really up to all to you all.
So then I'm hitting on the other thing, is that a $12 request.
That's what I'm saying. Like
You get $2 for every executive, you know, it's just like,
Yeah.
is that the point of the finance board? I mean, generally speaking, the finance board in the past has not voted for the simple upkeep of organizations, you know, whether through the ping pong clubs, etc.
plus tax.
We don't pay tax.
Everyone stay focused,
Excuse
please.
me, everyone. Right, so at the current moment, I'm leaning towards no. Yeah. Is option A is to fund $12 for the domain, and option B is to not fund. All those for option A, please raise your hands now.
You've got them?
04.
I used
All
to do
those-
it.
Option A
No, I
is full funding for a $12 Google domain. Option B is to have no funding for it. All those for option A, please raise your hands now. 04. All those for option B, please raise your hands now. 6. All right.
I think it just needs to be clearly communicated, like follow-up emails about like why you decide that, but also like justification behind it and like resources. I mean, I know it is corporate, but like because I'm assuming the application is like 12 years. $12 buys you a year worth of keeping the domain, so $12 plus tax. So but yeah, so I would just offer like fundraising opportunities, but also like reasoning why like we had concerns about funding it, why we didn't fund it.
Yeah. Okay, so the rationale. Well, so generally in the past,
we did fund it.
We did fund it, so I was like, okay, I mean, in theory, nothing changed, so then.
Did you brought up the documentation?
Yeah.
To be a little extra. Says here that expires March 2nd, and today's March 5th.
Oh.
This website is still like up and it's running.
Oh, okay.
So maybe someone paid for it.
And this goes like
Okay, then.
Someone. Well, actually, if you didn't pay, what would happen?
It shuts down.
It shuts down.
So someone bought it. I mean, not bought it. What if someone else bought it?
OMG.
OMG. Someone else bought it?
All right. All right. There we go. So
Good
now,
catch.
fantastic. To the agenda, please, everyone. We love our first name last
They're
names.
great.
To the agenda, please.
Yeah.
Yes, and now we have Eric Studio at 8:35. Let us take a 8-minute break.
Thank you, Daniel. We love the midnight.
How do you pronounce your real name? Like,
Daniel?
no.
His real first name.
His real first, his Chinese first.
Yeah. Isn't it Zihong?
Zihong? I'm not trying to be mean.
Is it not? What is it? Oh,
Zhang?
Zhang. Oh, yeah.
Wait, Zhuang?
I am actually Wong.
I don't.
I'm actually Jean Valjean.
That is on brand. Good movie. That is on brand. You're not wrong.
Oh no, it's a Wang Zhihong. Because in Chinese, your surname comes first.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So Wang, which is W-A-N-G. So it's for you all to speak, it's W-O-N-G. Wang. Wang. There you go.
Yeah.
But like because of the way Pinyin works, it's W-A-N-G.
Yeah.
But unless you live in the south of China, it's W-O-N-G. So like
It's weird.
they just do what they want, and that's why you see it in both ways. Sometimes people change it to make it more pronounceable.
Our cultures are a lot the same.
Yeah.
Are you gonna do
And then-
orange vanilla
Sure,
color?
wait,
That's
it's just
kind
the
of-
new logo.
Yeah, so there's like a
Jer-
it's like
Jer-
orange vanilla.
Jer-
Okay.
There you go.
Oh,
Sure.
that's nasty.
It's like 120.
Is this the new
No,
one?
65.
Wow.
Yeah. Thank
No,
you.
that's gross. And my
The
sister
other option
got
was
engaged.
no,
That
that
was
was
yeah,
that's
like, my parents, when they're named me, was like, "It's not gonna go up in America."
Why does that look so? I don't.
I love the shield. I am Team Shield.
Yeah,
all the
Team
way.
Shield, but not the Maryland flag, man.
I guess she's getting more
I just want Rebowski's
I wanted
face.
shield.
You want with what?
With truth ring. Yeah.
In the shield.
Yeah, the one with. Yeah. He protects us all.
Face.
That was kind of cute. I like the shield. No man It makes us look like an older institution. And we actually look like a university. Where did you get that around? Who knows what we're doing? Even though we're only like 50 years old. So,
I don't see a resemblance. Someone's different. And we're not even gonna go campaign.
Yeah, but you're a math major, so
Trying to catch these
Did you see it? It was like one of the Black and Gold Rush like advertisements where they had like Kruger be like, hey, but he didn't have his paws.
What?
They were heads.
Was that on the main page?
Yeah.
I did see that. I was like, wow, he looks like he is tiny hands. It's like his big paws like.
Have you seen the SNL skit? Have you seen the SNL skit with Kristen Wiig and she has these like
That's one of my
baby
favorite
hands? She has these little baby hands. She's like, and she's like touching people's faces. Yeah.
Who?
That's the SNL skit with Kristen Wiig and it's like she's kind of like the oddball sister, like her two older sisters. Or something. And she's
it's like a singing group.
Oh yes,
yes,
yes.
these baby hands and she's like touching people's faces.
That's
with
old
them.
SNL. I love that. When that cast was on, it was
That's
like,
not old SNL. Do not
It's
say
not.
that.
I mean, it's from like 2000, like what?
It's from the 2000s. It's not that old.
That's like stuff in history books, man.
Whoa.
To be
Anything
fair,
before
since
2016.
they do like one image update per year per textbook, so it costs an extra $500. That's not really a fair argument just to say that it's in history books.
Because they get updated. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Oh. Do they actually do that?
Is
But
it
do they actually
weird? It's really dark.
No, it's just this outside dark.
Like in school, people don't update textbooks regularly.
Oh, look at this darker outside.
That's what I'm saying.
No, you can.
There's a dimmer, yeah?
Yeah, there's a dimmer.
No, there isn't.
Yes, there is.
You're lying. It's all there.
Oh my god.
There is. You can adjust how bright it is.
Oh, you can't.
There is.
Oh! Can you
Turn
turn
it
it
back.
down a little bit?
Take me back to the dark.
Still not dark enough.
Retreat to the darkness.
I love teaching you all new things.
I am college educated now.
I'm calling it.
What if I get you now?
What does it mean to be
This is
educated?
what we're about to do.
You're educated.
Good song. I love that jam.
In this break, I'd like to move to amend the agenda to have time to talk about the budget.
I heard the carpool.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Hey.
All right.
I don't even know what I got.
Open the agenda for the video. Wait, you gotta do a word recess right now.
Oh.
We still have 5 minutes. No, 3 minutes.
Oh, or recess, Scott. You gotta hold your horses. We're not officially in session.
It's alright.
Eat your fruits.
I already finished them. I have more.
Yeah, you
Finish
love
your fruits, actually finish your hockey. Just had dinner. What are you doing?
Scott needs to eat, man.
What did you snack? What did you got? I'm like snacking and I'm like, should I eat a meal?
America.
Eat a meal. How many do you have?
I'm obsessed with the word.
Sharing is caring.
I don't really want one, but
It's because I'm obsessed with watching Versailles.
the one to Jessica, she's looking at like, I need one right now. So,
I really like more modern one. I really like Victoria. But her wasn't like a traditional court because it was obviously after the Constitution monarchy.
Also,
Not my first in life, but you know.
Yeah, my court was.
oh gosh.
Like maybe an Elizabeth or or what's his name?
It's going like I got you.
The first, so Louis the built Versailles,
Yeah.
and then the one that like got his head chopped off. Yeah,
The Sun King.
because I would have liked to see that. Well, then I got my head chopped off too. I was enjoying it.
we'll be out before
But I
that.
would flesh.
Yeah, but
Which Louis was that?
how much time do we put into this?
No, for like the one.
Yeah, an hour.
Oh, maybe Louis the.
A whole hour? Why would we get that long?
You think 30 minutes? We'll be here till 31 minutes.
Yeah.
Really?
Actually,
Including Pascal.
Yeah.
You so we'll be done by 9.
Who's the kid?
No.
No.
No way, right? There's no way.
No way.
There's-
14.
We'll be done with.
General consent at 8:50.
Yeah.
No, it's general consent, never mind, we'll be fine.
No, I.
See those? The Sun
We have
King?
Pascal, we have budget talk.
No,
That's gonna be easy 10 o'clock.
Oh,
Sit over here and write your name on one of the names.
yeah, isn't this Louis the?
Yeah, we are.
No, it is.
Louis 14 is like just the hair, something like that. I am the state. What an absolute monarch. Yeah. So we're gonna start at 8:35.
Anything else, Mike?
Yeah.
So you write that.
Last week, none of y'all
Welcome
showed
back
up.
to Conspiracy.
Oh, yeah. Really?
I still like.
First week back, I thought it was stunning. It gets fun.
Like the SGA budget.
Right. 8:35. Scott, you had a motion.
I'd like to amend the agenda to have time after kleptomaniacs to talk about the budget.
Okay. All those for approving this addition to the agenda, please raise your hands now. 6-4, 0 against. And that should only be 8:55. And move announcements. How much would we like to put there, Scott?
15 minutes?
15 minutes, please. So you would shift that to the announcements in 19 minutes. Thank you. All right. So, would you like to wait until the 15th?
Yeah, I guess.
Sounds good. We'll wait for that like Thursday.
When you prep and go through it?
Where'd you go?
I was on a call.
Please?
Yeah. Daniel?
What?
Can we do prep and go through it?
Which one?
ASU budget.
ASU budget?
Because we didn't do that in preview.
Oh, you're right. We didn't get to it. But we were preoccupied by other things. Sure.
Open the final one, please.
Okay, so this is the budget here right now. They are only for one line item for distribution. There's a couple.
The line item changes are set up. It goes from 480, 150 to 480 because Brent's documents reflect 480. Food total based on your precedence will total to 1,562.50 between these two line items. So in reality, I can do. And then decorations were dropped down to 109.70 based on equipment fee.
And that's functionally it. Do you have any other prep you need to do, Scott? Sounds good. Hold on here. Are we good to go? Okay. We're going to start off with a round of introductions. My name is Daniel White. I currently serve as the chair of the finance board. I use he, him pronouns, and I am a voting member of this board.
I'm Tori Easley. I'm a coordinator with student organizations. I serve as an advisor here. She, her pronouns. I do not vote.
And then, would you like to introduce yourself?
My name is Tarek Antar. I'm the president of the Air Student Union. I'm not a voting member of the board. I use he, him pronouns.
Hi, I'm Rasha. I am vice president of the Air Student Union, and I use she, her pronouns.
Canal Finance Board representative, he, him. I'm a voting member.
Canal Finance Board representative, pronouns he, him. I'm voting.
Hi, my name is Tanya. I'm vice chair for finance board this year. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm a voting member.
Hi, I'm Jessica John, finance board secretary. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm not voting.
Hi, I'm Patrick Reed. I'm a SGA senator. He, him pronouns, and I'm not a voting member of this one.
Hi, I'm Brenda. I'm the executive vice president. I use she, her pronouns, and I do not vote.
Hi, I'm Nika. I'm a first year ambassador. I use she, her pronouns.
I'm Carly. I'm the SGA trader. She, her pronouns, and I am voting.
Hi, I'm Zane. I'm the vice president of student organizations, he, him pronouns, and I'm a voting member of the board.
So, just for reference, we're all voting members today. Please raise your hand. So the 6 of us will be voting on your list today. So Scott has a list of questions that we can ask every single organization, and we'll post them to you now.
Can you start out by telling us a little bit about your organization?
Sure, if you want to add points on. Basically, the whole idea behind our organization is spreading Arab culture. The way we do that is the biggest way is through this event. You know, we hold an event for all students. We come, invite them, ask them to eat our food, learn more about our people, learn more about our music, our dances, all those sort of things. We also hold general body meetings where we try to organize people together, try to build a community. Sorry, I ran through my car, I'm a lot of breath.
Take a back ground rush. If you'd like to take a second.
That's all right. Try to breathe more often. So, okay. Yeah, general body meetings where we invite anybody to attend, and we try to foster a community of Arabs and UMBC, and we also try to invite people from outside to teach them a little bit more about our culture, our people, our music, food, anything you can fit under the umbrella of culture, we're all about it. We also try to hold fundraisers for refugee organizations. We also try to coordinate with other groups to raise awareness about Arab political issues or just general, I mean, again, Arab culture, where cultures intersect, what you can learn from different cultures that join together. Yeah, and I think that's a pretty good summary. Anything you want to add in there, or?
Can you please tell us about your event and provide a timeline of what will be happening at the event?
Yeah, I can do that. So the event is called Leolina. It's we're looking
6:30.
And then we have like a couple, because the event doesn't officially start till 8. We have a couple like stands and stuff for people to go around and check it out. There's going to be a henna artist. We're going to have a like poster that people can sign. They can walk around, hang out, kind of mingle, like get to know each other. And then 8 p.m. the event would start. We have a spoken word student coming to perform for us. She performed at our last event, and everyone really liked it. She kind of talks about like the culture and what it's like growing up in our culture to give that kind of aspect to the event. And then we may be having a dance team performance. They're still trying to figure out their routine. That would come after the spoken word. And then we would have dinner. We would have everyone kind of mingle around for a little bit. We usually host a dancing competition, guys against guys, girls against girls. And then the winner from each group goes against each other. And then afterwards, we invite everyone up to kind of just dance to our music and have a great time.
How did you come to the number of attendance for your event?
I think that's historical, right?
Yeah, we've typically done 300
and
for the past year.
We've been fairly consistent, I think, in selling that out. So I think it's a good number. You know, we get a good number of people there. It's more, I guess you could call it a status quo thing. Like, it's been like this, it's worked, so we don't need to add more, we don't need to add less. If that makes sense.
Okay. How are you advertising your event?
We have a social media account. We've been posting through that. We advertise through, they have student union general body meetings. We have bi-weekly emails, and then we also have the package with Common Vision. We're going to have like the quarter cards and the little banner.
Have you made a MyUMBC event for your event?
I don't think so, no.
We like to encourage orgs to do that. So it's on the event page.
Sure.
What costs are you guys taking on, and what are you doing to minimize costs?
I don't have the costs like off the top of my head for the event, but we've been trying to like work with the vendors to try and get like a cheaper price for food, because a lot of times, because food is like our biggest point, because the Arab culture has a very like unique and like well-known style of cuisine, so we really want people to be able to experience that. So we've been trying to like work and find vendors that will offer us that same experience, but for a cheaper cost. And then decorations, a lot of times what we do is, rather than buying like pre-made things, we go for like the cheaper route and kind of do a DIY and make it ourselves to bring that cost down as well.
We've also been trying to get more students to join in and do things. Like for instance, the spoken word, that's a student who comes in and does it. I guess we asked her to do it. She's very accommodating, said yes, I'd love to. We also, the dance team is run by students, so those are both kind of ways, instead of hiring an outside dev kit team that we've done before, they're not as reliable, they're not as interested in the whole event, but doing it with students, it brings down costs and it's a lot more enjoyable because they're invested in making the event good.
Okay. Are there additional questions for the organization?
The DJ and henna artists are not UMBC students?
No, they are not.
But I think we're working on, we tried last semester finding a student who could possibly be DJ, right?
Yeah, but they didn't, it was a little confusing.
Well, thumbs up. Actually, the finance board does not pay for contracts to UMBC students. It avoids you're avoiding any fairly discounted by organizations. So
can still collaborate with like UMBC Beats staff and other.
Yeah. That's what we were thinking about reaching out and doing.
Yeah. Additional questions for the organization? If not, there are a couple of things I'd like to explain to you, just to provide some background. So, due to the limited amount of funding, the organization in December notifying you of the limited funds to find people. So one of the cost-cutting measures that we have taken is the reduction of food to $6.25, which is equivalent to yes, not overall, but it's equivalent to what Swipe ad outtakes can get you, which is $6.25. So that number up there is a review. Not that number, is that?
Yep.
Okay, that number
so
up there.
it's because it's right here. It's
Yeah.
on both. And
Okay.
I highlighted it.
Okay, so that number up there would be $15,6250 would be the amount of money back the organization could receive. So another line I'd like to point you to is, could you scroll down for me a little bit? Yeah, thank you. Is to the decorations line item from 500 to 109.7. So there is a body within the SGA called the Equipment Committee. The Equipment Committee essentially makes a determination of what type of things that the finance board can actually purchase. So one of the, thank you, for you. So these things right here, like tablecloths and then mirrors and glasses and stuff like that, they were considered by Equipment Committee. The guiding essentially rule for this is like items that cannot be exhausted after one use cannot be considered by the finance board. So right now we're actually working with SABC to get a bit of clarification on what that exactly means, but for current interpretation, that's what we're going with today. So yeah, as a result, everything except for the versions from Costco and the instruments were cut, and we received a total of a max of 109,000 cents.
In that initial, so you know, I changed it in here. You had 500 in there, but it actually ended up to 447. So it's not as big as a cut.
Yeah. Do you have any questions regarding these two issues? Good.
Real quick, you said everything except the roses were cut, meaning?
So we cannot issue you funds for the mirrors, the tablecloths, I believe there are the glasses. Yeah.
Okay.
You will receive funding for the roses as well as the picture glasses.
Okay.
Just a clarification, that doesn't mean that we can fund those other ones separately.
You can fund those simply the SGA numbers.
Yes.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah. Anything else?
Although I really appreciate the attempt to acknowledge
Yeah. If we don't have anything else, we're going to move on to a period of discussion. During discussion, conversation is with the finance board members only. However, after discussion ends, we'll get back to you for any comments, questions, or concerns. Okay. So we start off, anyone?
So I think we'll call out open that in terms of funding, I mean, everything is a basic possibly funded up until now in terms of all students on campus, and the food pricing is with it. The precedent that we set, and obviously decorations are from the committee, but following policy, and I don't know, it looks like a great event, and we sort of funding what the amount allocated.
Okay. So,
What is the total allocated?
$5,050.
That's with our presidents?
Right. See that. Additional discussion points? If not, I'll open it back to you. Do you have any questions, comments, concerns, folks? If you do, email any of us and we'll reach out to you to answer some. See that? Can you open up the legislation packet for me?
Daniel?
Yes.
For the contracts, what is our precedent for that?
$1,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
Move to approve FBL 97, 18, 19.
All those who are approving FBL 97, 18, 19, please raise your hands now. 6-4, 0 against. Thank you very much for coming in the finance board. All your day will go out with you to talk about next steps, and thank you very much for coming. Thank you. Have a good night. On the next one, Coco Maniac. General consent. Oh, we're going to wait for these two to get back up. You guys will pack up, they'll meet you outside. Thank you very much again for coming.
I'll just talk about you.
Scott, toss me the razor. I'm gonna help you out. I feel bad. I feel bad every time. You toss me
No, I didn't do it last week.
I still have to toss you all of them. This isn't easier. It's so hard.
Woo! Bro.
Oh.
And I was like,
Yeah.
Jesse Clark.
She has fours.
What about me?
I mean, you were alright.
What? Okay.
Golf doesn't have a lot to do with catching.
What?
Golf doesn't have a lot to do with catching.
I play more sports than just golf.
I didn't know that.
I'm always surprised when, like, whenever I hear that you're, like, really into golf. I don't know why that, like, so, like,
This is the finance background.
This is oh, it does. When you go golfing.
and, like,
Exactly.
club with my home.
Hey, how do you feel about Patagonia? No, not a golf in Brooklyn, though. I prefer Patagonia.
I mean, it's probably like for wintry clothes.
It's like the outdoor stuff.
Yeah.
What's it called? Finance food. No, they're very, they're eco-friendly company. I was very emotional. Yeah.
You're sticking around for Patagonia?
We're going to do something once I get back home. I'm surprised. We are literally on time, except
It's something I would do.
Thank you. Oh wow, that's very, very optimistic.
That's what I'm saying. It's something I would say.
Extremely optimistic.
Something I would say.
No, I learned.
It's so
Well, like, if you call my Chromecast.
And I love yourself. Okay, well, like, I promised, like, yesterday, like, maybe something, but, like, is it actually worth it?
All these IOBs.
But they're like, no way.
That's great.
It's not uncommon during the midterm to kind of be literally I have two trains. I feel like you can make it up again.
Daniel,
spring break.
Can you do a paper?
And I'm going to a conference.
That's what it does.
I gotta do one after a while.
Get off the ratios, alright? Current ratio.
Current ratio?
Current ratio.
It's current assets over current liabilities.
I don't know why.
Okay, quick ratio.
Quick ratio. Current assets plus inventory over
Minus inventory.
No, it's plus.
Is it plus?
Is it plus?
Quick, because you have to liquidate fast. We love ourselves in financial ratios. What do they mean? I really don't know. Unless you have industry comparisons, you don't really
It's
know.
not golf, it's ratios. You just don't quiz each other on ratios to play golf. I've never done that.
Oh my god, I'm watching that.
I played golf with like one person.
Cassie is a child. I feel like this is
She is though, honestly. I just like watched the episode, but I watched that one episode and I'm like, hey, I was talking, Scott. I don't
Oh my god, you and your AirPods.
understand how she has such a strong following.
I'm sorry,
Anytime any conflicts come up, all she does is cry and act very immature.
Yeah, she's like, oh, I need my parents' lessons.
I'll give you some everyone. Take back to the room. And, hello. Have a seat over here.
That's me.
So, yeah. Alright, everyone, let's re-adjourn. Not re-adjourn. I don't know what that means. Reconvene. The word I'm looking for is that. I'm not thinking about So actually, something really nice is in the room. All right. Thank you very much for coming. So, technically speaking, you didn't have to come, but we do appreciate whatever organization you come. So, thank you very much. So, Club Maniacs is in the room. This one will be a general consent one. So, what they're requesting for is a standardized facilities to hold a concert. Since you all are here, this concert is open to all UBC undergraduates, correct?
Absolutely.
All right. Reason. Club Maniacs is a limited funding organization, but because this event is targeted to the general UMBC body and is open to the UMBC body, they satisfy the criteria for receiving funding from the funding support. Do we have any other additional questions or discussion points? Thank you very much. Yeah.
Hi, how will you be advertising your concerts?
We are going to television.
Okay.
Actually, meeting tomorrow to discuss the design.
Okay.
Yeah, my UBC event.
Not yet, but we are going to do that soon once we actually have the name of the concert.
Okay. See that. Do you have any additional questions for the organization? If not, Scott?
If you can scroll down to the, yeah.
Okay. So now we're going to move to discussions. During discussion, conversations limited to the finance board only. However, after discussion ends, we'll open all back.
I have a question. Sorry.
Oh, very well. Let's go back to questioning.
In the description for the event, you say singing songs and guest groups will be there as well. Can you just share who the guest groups will be?
So we don't actually know yet.
I don't think we really need to know. Yeah.
Usually it's make two outside groups and like two inside groups. It all depends on availability.
Yeah.
People always have like finals and stuff whenever we have our concerts. So okay.
All right. Event looked great. Fantastic. So we're going to open it back up to you. Any questions for us? All right. Bring me that legislation packet, please. Thank you. 88, 18, 19. 98.
Move to approve FPL 98, 18, 19.
Second.
All those for approving FPL 98, 18, 19, please raise your hands now. 98. 98, 18, 19. Sorry. All right. 6-4, 0 against, 0 abstaining. Thank you for coming in. This might not actually happen. All right. So we'll talk. Carly or Nick will talk to you about the next steps for this, and if you have any questions, comments, concerns, please let us know. Thank you very much for coming again, and happy. Where's that stuff? Right. Okay. So next one we have at 8:55 is budget discussion. So that should run along the number. Okay. We're going to wait for Carly to get back in the room. You mean Carly? Yes, Carly. We're waiting for Carly.
He said Carly. Yeah, he said Carly.
Wait a minute. Oh.
Kunal, are your AirPods on?
No, mine.
Dang. Oh, wow.
Where am I?
Better question is
why am I here?
Yeah, no.
Oh, I don't know.
Maybe like 10.
$15,422.
Do you have any rollover or rollback?
Well, technically you're down.
What do we have left? We are over. We're over allocated by 3,000.
Okay, that's not horrible.
So that being said,
Could go on.
what needs to happen tomorrow?
You know, these are the
You
guys.
can take a guess. What needs to happen tomorrow?
Goes up.
Email.
That's why I said
Tomorrow.
Wow.
Tomorrow. Are people scheduled for next week?
Oh.
We'll see everyone.
Whole.
What's going on?
Like 200.
Yeah,
250.
Okay, so
That's my liaison club.
by noon, y'all, by noon, I would like to see myself copied on that email.
Oh gosh. They're just studying for exams today. Okay. Very well.
We love midterm.
It takes you how long?
Column anyway.
Yeah. No.
Well, from the all the students.
Yeah, I have to send it to call and send it. Yeah.
To send it.
Draft it live.
Can draft that or no?
I'm sure you would all work together to draft that.
Oh yeah, obviously. We do.
Are we social? Hello.
Right before my
Drafting
exam.
various things.
For various drafts.
I wonder where
All right, everyone. Let's talk about the budget. Budget's supposed to come to us next week on the 12th. Scott, 1 second. 1 second. Carly, do you want to do any other setup or no? I think this is just talking about the budget.
Yeah, at this point, I don't know if it's.
Has there been any changes since last time?
Yes.
very
So
well.
I know.
Did you go to the meeting Friday?
Yeah, there's contemplation or changes about what we would be funding for the retriever because we wanted them to spend down their reserves. That's been an ongoing conversation with them. And I believe from a meeting on Monday of last week, I believe it was, we proposed to them, okay, Colin and I wrote an MOU over this past weekend saying, like basically the retriever has to, they will be allocated $60,000 for fiscal year 20, so this budget right here, but the MOU is made between us to say like, you have to meet these expectations in order to get $60,000 again for fiscal year 21. And the expectations say like you have to increase stipends by 50%. And that just kind of clarifies like that so that we're not cutting their budget before kind of giving them a chance to prove themselves and prove that they want to increase stipends and kind of like spend down their reserves essentially. Because that is kind of like our goal since they don't need the whole 130,000 or so in their reserves. So that's basically the biggest like change to it, is that it will be 60,000 now allocated to the retriever.
Yep. And then, right, let us begin discussing the budget. Would anyone like to start? Scott.
Patrick, can you tell us what happened at Senate yesterday? If you wouldn't mind.
Ooh, anything like something specific that I should know, or like?
About budget.
Just what you guys discussed, the major points you hit on.
Yeah, I don't remember like any kind of like deep conversation on it. Jared kind of ran through it pretty quickly, and we were able to take a look at kind of the small changes with the retriever and like the FYA budget. But I mean, we're kind of, I think we're going to be waiting to discuss anything further in Senate next week. But I don't think there's no major opposition to anything right now. I think there were some questions about the like Democratic Civic Life Office and just kind of like what the plan moving forward for that was, but nothing immediate that is probably going to be messed with. I do know that myself and another senator had been talking a little bit about the retriever budget because it's at 60,000, but if our goal is to spend it down, but that was also assuaged by the kind of the MOU that is hopefully going to be signed. If it's not signed, that's a different discussion, but they've agreed to it for now. So I think everything's good on the Senate side.
Some things that I remember from Senate yesterday is that Jared brought up zeroing out the Senate line item. Senate, I think, plans to do that. And the meeting Friday, the retriever budget was increased back up to 60,000. Executive branch stipends were each deducted 1 credit hour, legislative branch by 2 credit hours. And there was increasing for a small line item up to 5,000 for marketing.
Yeah. Just to even out.
Yeah. So I think those are the changes that I remember.
Additional discussion on the budget. So yeah, no, I still do have concerns about the retriever. Functionally, even if they were to increase the stipend pay by half, which would be go from 60,000 to functionally $90,000, the retriever would be spending 65% of its budget on paying people. You know, I don't understand. there's no downward forces upon the retriever in regards to their budget. It will continue to grow functionally. Sure, that's perfectly fine with me as well. However, they're turning a profit off of student money. That obviously we can't, because their reserves are growing. Functionally, the money that they're given by the SGA, $60,000 last year, and they turned some amount of money increased. Because they have a $100,000 budget overall, $40,000 worth of operating expenses. So functionally, a profit was turned utilizing student funds. I don't think that's what the point of the student dollar is. Then again, also the retriever, it's just $90,000 in stipends. That's 65% of their budget. Is it somewhere around there? It's 65 to 70% of their budget functionally to pay just for people to operate everything. And I don't know if that's the best utilization of the student dollar. Scott?
For operating costs, I think the retriever overprints a little bit. I've seen a lot of extra copies of their February 27th edition. These copies are also fully color. I don't really know any other magazine that prints every page in color. Usually it's just like the cover page or pictures, but I feel like there are areas where the retriever has been like lackluster in trying to conserve the student dollar.
Most student papers do print full color.
Yep.
Publications, no. Student, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. It's
just so
it's justifying 100. Like, this is the student dollar being utilized, and you know there are no other people watching over what the retriever does on the page.
So.
Yeah.
Go.
It should.
Yeah.
It's your place.
She's yielded too.
That is a question I was going to bring up, probably in the Senate, because I did kind of want to address that. I know we don't have any like editorial, having a government function as like an editorial board like of a newspaper, like definitely goes against everything that I as a person believe in, and like I think most people in the Senate believe in, all that all that stuff. So there has to be that wall of separation, of course, but like I think that there does need to be a discussion of like, okay, you have a lot of money, and what I see, right, like as a senator, my job is to represent the student voice, and like the student voice is like, people don't know what the retriever is, don't read the retriever, and that's just kind of like the same way people don't know what SGA is. Do you know what I mean? Like there's just sort of like that broad base of just like, oh, like it exists, but like what does it do? Don't read it, or don't even know what it was. I was talking with a senator tonight who said that before she joined SGA, and involved student on campus, a student that has like been involved in campus life, didn't know who the retriever was until they cut their budget. So like that I think those issues need to be very seriously addressed moving forward. It can't, I think for everyone on campus, SGA, but especially the retriever too, like it can't be business as usual moving forward from this point. I think there does need to be like maybe a change in how things operate. Just like how finance board has reformed your stuff, I think there needs to be reform with other things on campus as well. That can be facilitated by the SGA, finance board, and Senate, or whoever. But that's just my opinion.
Backtracking a minute, so Daniel, you mentioned that like having a majority of their budget spent on stipends is a bit much. What other expenses aside from printing are they really looking at them?
I mean, they have expenses. So I have Colin has shared with me like what the retriever budget generally looks like in the breakdown, and as well as like a proposed if they did a 50% increase, what would that on their stipends? What would that look like? So their total actual budget expenses is about $100,000, because it's about $40,000 for their operational costs, which include like here it's listed like postage and mail, telephone expenses, food service purchases, office supplies, hardware, software, guest speaker fund, event planning, branding materials. Like it's a lot of just like little different things that they kind of use for going to events too. Like going to sporting events was one of the things when they went to the Bahamas for the boys basketball tournament that they were in and stuff like that to cover that. So like there are other like expenses like that they have for operating as well, and then there's about $60,000 that they have towards stipends. So their total budget is about $100,000, of which $60,000 comes from SGA, and usually the rest, or a good chunk of that other $40,000 comes from advertising. So.
Yeah.
Are they fully staffed?
Are they fully staffed? They have a lot of people involved. I think I was talking to Colin, and he was saying that they have about like 50, like somewhere between 40 to 60 people who are like involved in whether they're writing things or like heavily involved. I believe it's somewhere close to 30, if I had to guess, like 30 to 40 people on payroll or something. So, again, I don't know if it's like the whole like 50 to 60 on payroll.
We have like 2 different classifications of writers also, right?
Yes.
So I'm pretty sure that they have ones who are like working more regular pieces and then others who
Or just contributors.
right, like
Right.
I don't know the exact
So-
difference, but there's different classifications.
If there's 30 to 40 people and $60,000, how are they paying this low?
No, I think it's, sorry, I think I misspoke. I think it's like they have like 50 to 60 people on payroll and $60,000, about $60,000 contributed to stipends currently.
Okay.
That's why it's so low.
So functionally still approximately $1,000 a person.
I mean, if you wanted to average it out that way, that's not how it actually
Yeah,
breaks down.
yeah. If it averaged out.
Julie makes 3,500.
That's why we want them to
Huh?
increase. Like,
Julie makes 3,500. I think Raj makes
Yeah.
similar.
And the writers are below that.
That's why I asked you
That this does not work out.
That's not how
It's okay if the top paid positions make $3,500 each. Okay, so that's $7,000. Then functionally, $53,000 will be distributed to the remaining staff.
Yeah. That's why it's so
How did they pay that? $53,000 and 50 people. It's functionally $1,000 a person.
Yeah, I know. That's why we're saying you got to increase stipends. What?
For me, it's simply
It's not the same way as you.
it is not. However, even within SGA,
What's profit?
I think $1,000 for like a contributing writer for a year. It's just like, or like just.
It's not based on the stipend. It's not. I don't think it's stipend based. I think it's based on how many articles you write. Like,
I was
you get
thinking is a stipend based one.
For example, like if you're a videographer, you make $45 a video. If
Okay.
you're
Yeah.
a contributing writer, I think it's around $10 an article.
Right.
So it's not. Yeah. It's. I don't. My understanding was I don't think we were telling. I have to go back and look at the MOU, but my understanding is we're not telling them that they have to do a certain rate of stipends. We just
Yeah.
told them that they have to increase stipends, increase like however they pay people 50%.
So, my question is that they're using, like, the money that they've allocated to, like, paying that, like, it all goes out, right? So, like, how much is allocated to, like, they, like, Scott said, like, videographers? It's like what I'm saying is, do they use it? Like, I'm assuming they do.
No, I don't think they do. That's
That's why they're reserves.
reserves are so high.
Oh, okay.
So we gave them $60,000, and presumably they somewhat underpay their staff and then put the rest of our money into their reserves. Is the way that I see it. Is that correct?
I mean, also then from the position that, you know, okay, I understand, like, okay, SGA is increasing our stipends and stuff like that, but we're directly elected as well. Okay, so it's like there's a way for people to get rid of SGA members for the future. There's no oversight mechanism.
I mean, we're not supposed to be overseeing them.
Yeah.
The government should not be
Yeah,
overseeing
the government should not be, but the students are paying for them. I think that's the thing.
Also, do they have an advisor?
Right now, I think, I'm pretty sure they do.
They have like sort of Dan is sort of
So, like, I feel like that's also a factor that, like, they don't have a permanent advisor.
There's, Janae was.
Oh, okay, she was. Okay.
Yes, so
Oh, yeah,
it's
that's right.
a matter of.
They also have a faculty that's sort of.
Okay, but like kind of sort of is not like same as having. So I feel like
Who makes hiring decisions for those people?
Yeah.
Julia. Julia, we're just like the final say on that?
I believe so.
Okay.
There's probably a group of them.
Yeah.
No,
I don't know, what is the point of this? What are we trying to?
For me, it's like, okay, SGA collects a student activity fee, right? SGA collects a student activity fee, and therefore, when we prepare to pay for ourselves and stuff like that, there's an oversight mechanism functioning. If that SGA is abusing the money and stuff like that, we can be voted out, right? It's just like, if there's a mechanism for that, for accountability.
Okay.
Yeah, and for the retriever, functionally, once we issue the funds to them, there is not a mechanism for accountability. It's simply and that's theoretically SGA should be providing that. Well, like we can't because they're press. Like that's the thing.
Okay.
So over SCP we theoretically could, in my opinion.
Okay.
But over the press we cannot because separation between the press and the state.
I think you're having an internal
We're
conflict.
yeah, I know, because like, how are we justifying the expenditure? It's like the money is still coming from students, though.
Yeah. And so
there's
I don't know what to tell you. Like I
Yeah.
don't know, it's just like
Well, it's not being justified.
for me, it's just like hey, there's no way for. What's up, Patrick?
Yeah, I do agree.
I'm having an internal conflict right now. I'm like,
yeah. No, I agree with you to an extent. I think that's what I mean. Like, I think that I don't know what that looks like in terms of what it looks like for like an MOU or what it looks like for like stipulation for funding. Because like again, like we can't make editorial decisions for them, but at the same time, like that's why I say when there should be like reforms that like there should be some kind of like report that they give back to us of like this is exactly where all that money went for the year, and then like we gave you $60,000. Here's why these people were paid, like some kind of like SRC of like for the retriever that like we don't have to look at it.
Interfering on them again.
But that's what like that we don't have to look at, but like that somebody on their end, like if we're gonna increase their money, right? We're changing our SARC, we're expecting more out of people, right? So if we're gonna be increasing their stipends, we should have a conversation with their advisor, with Julia Butis, that like somebody on that end needs to be making sure that like we're not placing. The reason we confront people is so we can't place friends into the positions of SGA. We can't like pay our friends. We can't kind of mess with the balances of power. So that's good. But like with them, it's like I want to make sure that, like we don't have a writer that gets hired and it's just like writing his English paper and getting paid for it while saying he's writing. You know what I mean? Like that kind of stuff. But I could be wrong. That's how I feel. But I don't know kind of what that looks like on there.
So so I'm worried that this is like we're viewing this as like, well, if the retriever's getting paid for by SGA, they have to kind of operate like SGA, or they have to fall into the line that like, well, SGA operates this way and we're paying them, so they should also kind of operate into this same thing. And I want to kind of steer away from that because that is not like we're not here. Obviously, yes, we pay like a majority of their budget total, but like that I don't think gives us necessarily the right to say, okay, you have like. Yes, there are some things that we could say, okay, you have to kind of follow these things in order to be granted the same amount next year, like increasing stipends. Yes, and like for sure, that's what we're trying to do within SGA, and we're trying to set that expectation that more students get paid at like more livable wages across campus. Absolutely, but like, I get the point of like, oh, you're not just, but like, and I think their process is just very different from the way SGA operates. So like saying you have to have some kind of SRC for however people get hired or however the writers get paid, I think is overstepping on our ends. And I think again, it's by article written and thing contributed, not necessarily like you get paid this amount for the whole year and there's no check on whether you actually do the work. I don't think it operates that way. But again, I don't know the answer to that. I just think we should like kind of reel it in. I think things are getting a little miscommunicated.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I think, like, commenting on that, I don't think we should be in the business of, like, changing systems that are, like that's their realm of, like, doing things, and I think that's, like, SGA kind of, like, interfering in things. I do hear I think it would make sense if there was more, like, of a breakdown to just, like, help us understand and maybe, like, have a conversation about that. I think that might be helpful. But I think for question for Daniel, and was the other argument kind of made that like allocating that much money and then it not being fully like used to pay people and putting in the reserves like doesn't make sense, doesn't have accountability towards it?
Yep.
But it's just like putting money towards a reserve account that is not used.
And
Okay.
It's functional. It's just like, so having some reserves makes sense.
Yeah.
Actually, sorry, Scott, this is your turn to go.
Mine was the kind of along the same lines. So for the funding of the retriever, we operate off limited information, like you said, Carly. The information that we have is we give them a certain amount of money, and their reserves are ridiculously high. And the arguments against decreasing their funding that I've heard from the retriever are for legal counsel, which would be they would be protected against Campus Life, or Campus Life would freeze their funds if they were sued by the university.
They can't pay for legal counsel.
Yeah, they can't.
So they can't even do that?
They can't withdraw it.
So they can't use it for that. They want to make big capital expenditures, but I feel like SGA could provide that on an as-needed basis and just give increased funding for years where they want to increase, like update equipment and stuff like that. And so I don't think they need to like have their reserves that high, and I don't think that's an effective use of the student dollar to basically pad the retriever's reserves. It can be used for other things rather than just sitting in an account.
So, as you mentioned, like we're kind of in a sense operating off like limited information, or at least the people in this room who are going to be seeing this next week and voting on it, right? Like the information that we do have is kind of just like funneled through the SGA lens, and I find that a little concerning that like we don't have like kind of this like full cohesive picture, or especially from like their side when we're going to be voting on this. So that's just like a personal concern. The other thing is based on the budget like policy that was meeting from Friday. It was Friday, right? Yeah. That showed the updates and like the explanations that were given there. I feel like this makes sense as like the medium for like moving forward in comparison to like where we were and where things were trying to go. But that's all I have to say.
Is there any information that Patrick or Brenda could provide to give us a more informed decision from either meeting with them on Monday or the Senate meeting where the original budget was proposed?
What do you mean?
Because he met with them on Monday and talked to them directly, or last Monday, and talked to them directly about what their concerns were and what they thought should be going on. So can you give us a clearer perspective of their view of the situation?
Yeah, so my understanding is exactly what you said, right? The two things are capital expenditures for the office and their space, and then the bins, and then legal counsel. Yeah, nothing further than that. But I do want to go over the terms of the MOU, because I think that would be helpful. So, Paul and Carly are proposing $60,000 for the retriever, based on them increasing writer stipends by 50%, spending at least $1,000 in capital expenditures, and decreasing their reserve amount by 15% based on what it is right now. So that MOU is valid for 1 year. If they meet all three of those terms, they'll get funded at least $60,000 for the next year based on a written agreement between the editor-in-chief of the retriever, the business manager, the treasurer of SGA, the president of SGA. So basically everyone has to agree on an amount, and then that gives them a little bit of power because they did meet the terms and pulled from their reserves to meet the terms of the MOU. So that's that. If they do not meet the terms of the MOU, SGA is funding them at $45,000 next year. Yeah.
So just like more comment on that. So like the discrepancy between like stipends and like payment like per work. I think like you said stipends, but like so like 50%. Like so like how would that work? Or do we still not know like how their system of payment works?
So they have like a contributing writer's stipend, and I think they're paid regularly, and they also have like a piecework stipend for people that just kind of write articles.
Okay.
So the 50% increase is only for writers.
Okay.
And Colin has calculated it out that they would be pulling I don't want to mess with the number. I think it's about $20,000 to $30,000 from the reserves if they do that increase.
Oh, thank you.
With the 60,000 coming from SGA.
How is this like increase in spending seen as more sustainable than a cut? Because presumably if they increase stuff, they would have to keep operating at that level rather than reverting to it. So they would be pulling from their reserves at a deficit without any like future of breaking even.
What was that last part? I didn't understand.
Like if they're operating in the red, how would they get back to the green eventually?
They're not supposed to be in the green.
It's supposed to be zero.
Or like,
Are you asking like,
is
is there a point where they can't pull from their reserves anymore?
once they outspend their reserves and are operating like above their revenues, what happens then?
So that's why this MOU is only valid for a year, because that's next year's budgeting people's decision to make based on the amount that they have on in their reserves at that time. But I think it's also, I think the general way to view the MOU is that it's an opportunity to express what we want in a formal way, instead of just kind of, like, I think SGA has like harbored a little bit of resentment, and I don't think that's fair, right? To just be like, oh, a retriever, and then not express what we want from them. And then to just cut them right away without expressing that and communicating, it's not fair. So thinking in terms of longevity and sustainability and looking past ourselves and where we are right now, I think the MOU is a chance for us to have serious conversations with the retriever next year as an organization to be like, hey, can we I know we don't want to interfere too much, but is there any way we can work with you to maybe see where you can cut costs, because student activities fees are a thing, and it really matters to us that it goes somewhere that matters. So think of it like opening a gate, I guess. I don't know if that's too cheesy, but like it's a way to start conversations. Then next year, if those terms aren't met, that's their problem, honestly. But it's just, yeah, it's giving each other some grace.
I have internal struggle.
So what I'm kind of hearing, just as a summary for us to, I think, move forward so we're not talking in circles, there is an expression of a desire of a breakdown of the way the retriever budgets. Is that a yes? So whether that's based on how they pay their staff, where everything else is going, I feel like the room kind of wants to see a breakdown. So and they have to get approved by SABSC, right? SAFRB. I was like, those are the wrong letters. They do. But, so their budget does have to be approved, correct? Okay.
So Colin did send all of you the retriever's budget a couple weeks ago. I can send it again if you would like. Perfect. The entire budget for this year. Send it in when.
Oh,
but I can send it again. I have it up.
Like the retriever's breakdown?
Yeah.
Oh,
perfect. There's a breakdown.
Again.
I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll forward it to you.
What I've also heard from, as a general, either concern or expression, is that there's some kind of frustration that there's not like a staff, and when I say staff, I mean like UMBC personnel staff, oversight as far as controlling, we're going to say stipends. I know this is not probably the appropriate term for the retriever and how they function, but that there's not staff kind of oversight on those stipends. Is that yes, or did I mishear that?
Yeah. Yeah, I think in that context, but also like just having someone there.
Staff in general.
Yeah,
that
like,
should hopefully be resolved sooner versus later.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that part, but I just know like every especially with SGA, like SCB, because it's like student dollars specifically, like going to fund things and contributing to people, like contributing back to campus and being paid for that. There definitely should be like someone monitoring. I'm not saying like it's been done on purpose or like they haven't tried hard enough to look for staff, but like I guess just like talking about that as well. Because I mean I know the circumstances of Jenny leaving was like fairly abrupt, and then I mean obviously not me, but this is the advisor, so yeah.
A big thing right now is should the state be paying writer salaries, because that makes them inherently tied to what the state wants.
There's also
There's
frustration.
Just a little too digging into
Yeah,
it. It's a little too much.
Well, like, that's what I'm building right now. I'm like, well, I mean, they're technically beholden to the state, aren't they? They're paid by the state.
That is a Chris case thing.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, good one.
And that there's also a frustration that there's not a checks and balances. I don't know what that would look like, but it sounds like I keep hearing checks and balances, lack of staff, and funding breakdown.
I'm assuming they have like a higher limit, right? So there's some sort of something to keep them accountable behind, maybe.
I mean, if we say we like act the same way in SCD in terms of like funding, but like, do they have an accountability system? I mean, besides like
Internal elections, don't they? Internal elections.
I mean, I guess so, but like, what's to say they just can't? I mean, obviously, probably, like, obviously, how to stop like a misuse expenditure, yeah. So.
I mean, everything that they do has to go through Caitlin and Hallie.
Yeah. So I mean, I think.
Yeah. So they do have a staff SGA check.
Scott? Actually, Scott, you'll be the last one, and then we're gonna wrap up for tonight.
This is only one aspect of the budget, but
I mean, but like, you know, we have additional discussions outside of this, I know.
So I don't want there to be like any perception that there's any resentment towards the retriever. It's more frustration at the situation because the reserves are so high, and the solution that we seem to be proposing is like artificial spending increases without any like future of sustainability to keep those spending increases once they spend down the reserves.
Well, if we're allotting them like the continued SGA like assistance at the 60, right? Then that would cover that, I would assume, or a good portion of that.
Yeah.
I mean, and just add on that they're supposed to. I'm pretty sure the reserve level is like 15 to 20%. Right. That's a good. Yeah, ideally, yeah. So I mean, obviously, it's like over 100% now, but like, I mean, they're not going to spend like past that mark because that wouldn't make sense for that case. Right.
Okay, everyone. We're gonna wrap up for now because it is 9:30, and it's done. So, announcements. I reminded from Tanya is SRC reports are due this Thursday, right?
Yeah.
All right. Huh?
And
yes, peer SRCs. Are those due?
Yeah.
Send me the link, Tanya, and I'll get this done.
I will do that and welcome Scott and Janelle to SRC committee.
Have fun. Right. Furthermore, Scott.
Actually, I don't know if I can say.
What? No. SRC reform. We're doing it soon. All right. Those who signed up, Scott, Brandon sent out an initial email about that one. I imagine there will be further developments. Scotty boy. Scotty boy. Right. Additional announcements.
Yes, actually. Elect Her is this Saturday. What else? Oh, so I've been working with Hannah Sadal, the last year's treasurer. She's working with some other campus partners, I believe, in Campus Life, and other places to do a like financial literacy week for students and student organizations in like the first week of April. And so she's asked for SGA to be a part of it. So I've been working with her a little bit, and we want to do something on Thursday, April 4th at 1 p.m. And the idea is like a financial literacy event for student organizations, which I think will be fantastic, especially with the whole finance board reforms going on. We can talk about other sources of fundraising and other financial literacy tasks. So I'll probably be sending out an email to everyone about that and brainstorming an idea of like what an event would be for financial literacy for student organizations. What that looks like. So I'll be sending out an email this week as well. So, but is there anyone else who'd be interested in working with that? Me on that. Yeah, I'll definitely rope you into it. Yeah.
Fantastic. All right.
Make sure to thoroughly review the budget for next week because I believe we're voting on it.
Yes.
And also check over the proposed changes to the finance board budgetary statutes.
Oh yes.
I recognize that Daniel's present, I am present, Scott is present, Janelle is present, Tanya is present, Jessica is present, and Cubby is present.
And our beautiful Patrick, Brenda.